see the final score, we track the revenue stream. Welcome to the show that treats the sports world like the multi-billion-dollar business it is. We dissect the ownership deals, the television right battles, the NIL impact, and the media figures driving the entire narrative. From Wall Street to the locker room, we follow the money and the people who control the message. Welcome to Press Row, the business of sports, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. Now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Nick Morgasen. Hello again, my friends. Happy Wednesday, and welcome into another edition of Press Row to bring an end to the month of May on this May 27th, 2026. As always, he's Nick Morgasen. I'm Callan McClurg, joining you folks here today for another 3-hour Grand Circle tour of all things sports business and sports media. A lot of coverage, though, today of the FIFA World Cup as we get ever so closer to the upcoming tournament across Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Mr. Morgasen, as always, good to see you, my man. How are we doing today?
I'm hanging in. We're working on a lot of projects here, but you know what? This is a busy edition of Press Row. Some added stuff to the show also. We'll also take you out to the Mike Vrabel press conference, unfortunately, during this show because he said something that might be questionable at best. But we've got a great show. But before we do all that, make sure you follow the show on social media at Press Row ETB across all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and if TikTok will ever fix everything, we will put stuff up on there. Also, follow the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at ETB Network. Make sure you check out everything we're doing across this network on those channels, youtube.com/ETB Network. Like and subscribe. Over 1,110 subscribers right now, so please help us by liking, subscribing, hit the notification bell for when we go live and everything that we are doing across this great network. Boy, do we have a show for you guys today.
Okay, Veggie Tales.
Yes, strap in because this is going to be quite a show. R.I.P. Kyle Busch, unfortunately, dying from sepsis, which started from pneumonia at the age of 41. Also, DraftKings pulling a no-no until they realized what they did was completely stupid. On top of that, what? Also, Will Levis and his unfortunate intimate video having to be scrubbed from the internet because Mayo Boy wasn't enough for Will Levis. So you'll understand when we get into that more. World Cup projected to see $3 billion in revenue potentially, and it's amazing. So they can make $3 billion in revenue, but they can charge exorbitant prices to go from Penn Station all the way to MetLife Stadium. Figure that one out.
Or for one USA men's national team ticket in L.A. or Seattle.
Right. Iran moves its base camp to Mexico, but now it's to Arizona. There was an update to that also, which apparently
that story's all over the place.
But apparently that's being paid for, from what I heard last. Also, expansion to Las Vegas for the NBA. Gee, it's about damn time that they. Who would have thought the NBA would be the last one to that?
And I think they have the right guy leading the charge.
Well, Bill Foley has been that guy. He has the money in the wallet to do it. Also, MSG Sports filing to, and when we say MSG Sports, it's really James Dolan, who is filing to have the Rangers and the Hartford Wolfpack on one side and the Knicks and the Westchester Knicks on one side. Let's just admit it's all for tax purposes at this rate because that's what we're doing here. Also, MLB 4th of July jerseys, which I don't know if I really care, to be honest. French Open players facing representative media protests. This is getting worse by the day. and Supreme Court refusing to intervene in the Brian Flores lawsuit. I think he needs to stop, because he's causing himself a problem that he does not want, and a whole heck of a lot. So I'm not going to waste any more time because we have a lot to get to and some other stories along the way that are not listed on here. So let's get started.
Let's get started, though, Nick. We'll do so on a somber note for this episode of Press Row. But again, Nick, the very much sudden and tragic loss of racing icon Kyle Busch this past Thursday as the two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion passed away following a rapid battle with both pneumonia that turned into sepsis over the past couple days. Kyle Busch stands alone as the all-time wins leader across NASCAR's top 3 national series, as I said on Cranium on Tuesday, with over 234 combined victories, leaving behind a unmatched legacy of fierce competitiveness for the current day of NASCAR racing. For those, again, that are more details are still coming out of his illness and what happened. But again, Kyle Busch fell severely ill after inside of a simulator for an upcoming race this weekend, but apparently went from being a cold to a critical turn, though, to pneumonia, and eventually led to sepsis in his unfortunate passing. Tributes, of course, though, poured in across the globe as teams, drivers, and millions of fans honored his massive impact on stock car racing over the course of Memorial Day weekend, from Indianapolis all the way out to the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte on Sunday night on Prime Video. So I guess, Nick, obviously I said a lot, though, on Tuesday on Cranium that, I think a lot of us on this network are very much on the fence, borderline, casual at best NASCAR fans. I got to experience Fontana once before they have, of course, shut down Auto Club Speedway in Southern California. I made a mention that Kyle Busch won that race in the final 10 laps after Jimmy Johnson blew his tires out on the final lap, or the final turn, I should say, on lap 10. And that it always seemed like, though, Kyle Busch was either number 1, number 2, number 3. And, we've heard a lot of, great tributes about, what was called Rowdy Nation for his fan base, how drivers called him the American badass and stuff like that. And I guess, though, Nick, that for a sport like NASCAR, as I further said on Tuesday, I think it's been very hard, Nick, to pinpoint who is that poster child or that face of the sport. Because for a long time, it was Richard Petty. Then it went to Dale Earnhardt Sr. And then, of course, it went to maybe Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon. That there's really never been like a true, face. Not an icon, like a face of the sport, like I would say Kyle Busch had been with, again, not just, racing, Nick, in the Cup Series, but I'm talking about all 3 forms of stock car racing, from the Truck Series on Friday to the AAA ranks on Saturday, and then the actual big races on Sunday that drew people in, though, across television. So I guess, though, Nick, especially with how rapidly this happened, how do you remember Kyle Busch on this Wednesday afternoon?
Now, let me be clear about one thing. I was not the biggest NASCAR fan, but we had this conversation about, names from the sport of NASCAR. Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. The names. Kyle Busch had an incredible streak, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I remember it was from 2005 to 2023. He won
winning seasons.
But he had a NASCAR, what do they call it? The chase. He had a chase win. At least one chase win from 2005 to 2023. That's never happening again. It's never happening again. This guy was incredible. The guy holds all-time records, I think, in truck racing, and and he also holds, I think he's like 5th or 6th all-time in chase wins.
By the way, 19 straight winning seasons between 05 and 23. 19 consecutive years of getting at least one victory.
I think that's an incredible feat in its own regard, like being able to win like that. Now, it makes you wonder the incident that happened. Well, I'm not even going to call it an incident because I don't think that's fair either. But
right,
the unfortunate health situation that took place, where apparently he was sick, and actually I think blood was coming out of him while he was, or coughing up blood at one point. Doctors checked him out there because at any sporting event you go to, there is doctors.
Thank goodness.
But the problem I have is, why didn't it happen sooner? If he was facing a real health problem like he was. And again, not conspiratorial, because that's not what this is. But he should have been sent to the hospital immediately if he was coughing up blood.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I definitely think so with that, and I think it's right to say that though too. We're not casting blame. It's just more I think about maybe the ball got fumbled somewhere when he got out of the simulator. He wasn't feeling all that great. If he was already ill as was during that time, then it eventually grew and spiraled out of control to what it eventually led to.
It makes me wonder if, because sometimes athletes are their own worst enemies.
Oh, of course.
Sometimes, and you would know this from playing 15 years of ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were your own worst enemy at times when it came to injuries.
I mean, sometimes you could be when you want to get out there and you feel like you're letting the team down by whether it's grades, whether it's injuries or coming back from injuries, that you feel like you are your own worst enemy. I remember playing, or trying to get through a practice after having the flu for a week, and I felt like I'd lost like 15 pounds, and just trying to even feel the ground ball, and you feel like you got all this like that rush of blood to your head. And you still want to go out there and grind and, act as tough as you can. But there also comes a time, though, where you have to maybe reach that line in the sand and say, maybe it's time to cool it down and shut it down for a bit here.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to get at. That, like, sometimes, now, we'll never know the answer,
No.
but did he know that he was facing a potential health situation? Now, you got to be very careful. Pneumonia could kill you if you
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Like it did. Unfortunately, it led to sepsis and he died. 41 years old, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think is more troubling about this whole thing, too.
And I think what people don't realize at times, and I'm sure we all felt this when we were younger, that everyone thinks they're invincible and that they
Oh, yeah.
can't get sick. And one, if you think like that, you're a completely naive individual. If you think that you can't die from a sickness, I know that's dark. I'm just pointing out the facts and the truth of the scenario. But he must have been sick with something.
He had to have been.
And as an athlete, sometimes we say, oh, well, we'll wait until the event is over and then we'll go to a doctor because we think it's not that bad.
Yeah, and I don't want to put words in my mouth, though, but I feel like, though, Nick, that Busch was aiming, I think, to complete another double header, I think, of 2 races in one day, where I think he pulled this off, as I said on Cranium on Tuesday a few years ago, where he went to one event in the morning or to start the day, flew back to Charlotte, and I think conquered the 600 in Charlotte that same evening.
Okay, so obviously that's brought up because of, I can't remember her name. We talked about it, I think, last week. The woman racer
Yes.
who raced
Same thing. She was trying to do the same thing.
What was it? The Indy and the
Coca-Cola 600,
and the Coca-Cola
I think,
600, which I think Tony Stewart did it one time. I think Jimmy Johnson did it one time.
And I think Kyle Busch did it too, I want to say, but I might be wrong.
Right. I think he attempted it. Because isn't it true, like, some of these guys need, like, IVs to recover between when they're flying in the helicopter to get to that event?
And by the way, there is a small market edition episode coming out in a couple of weeks where I document Jimmy Johnson's racing career. And in that, I point out that Jimmy used to do triathlons to get himself in shape, and he cut down his body fat to about 8%, and that he got himself into better, game shape, Nick, because those cabins that they drive in, those are over 130, 140 degrees on a given race day.
See, I didn't know that. That's something I'm learning for the first time. But that's brutal, man. I mean, I feel bad for his 2 kids who are not even teenagers, his wife.
Yeah, and by the way, very moving, by the way, that one of the fellow drivers' families, after the moment of silence, that the kids went up to the kids and gave them a massive hug after the moment of silence. So that was very moving.
That was
Sunday.
You're talking about what's his name's kid, right?
Yes.
Who was it again?
The name eludes me, but I saw the moment and it made me tear up a bit.
I think he did it on his own
accords, yeah.
Own accord, which is rare for a kid that young to know kind of what the situation was. Like, I can give you an example. Like, when my grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed. Well, my niece and nephew were too young for my grandfather, but my grandmother passed away. Like, they were afraid to walk up to the casket. Now,
Yeah.
but it's tough for kids that
Yeah.
young. They don't know 100% what that's about.
Yeah,
But
I was too young to know that when my grandfather, who I wrote about on Substack about Memorial Day when he passed from cancer in 2002, I was too young to know about what was going on. And then, much like Kyle Busch, I lost my great grandmother on my mom's side of the family from the same thing of sepsis because of kidney stones, and that the hospital monitored her supposedly, and sent her home and basically said, get out of our hospital. We don't need you here anymore. And she wound up passing away from that. We could have sued, yes. But yeah, I mean, I agree though, Nick, that, sometimes though that, you know, kids are too young sometimes to fully grasp that, like when Rodney, my dog, passed away around this time last year, my niece and nephew were still kind of too young to not realize that Rodney was gone until we got, the fur ball in my lap now here, who's enjoying the show, that, that they're sadly tuned to fully grasp that whole thing. And Christy Wilson does right in too, though, Nick. Not a huge NASCAR fan either, fellas, but at least I knew who Kyle Busch was as well. And again, the one time, as I said on Tuesday, the one time I went to Fontana with my dad before they shut down Auto Club Speedway, we watched Kyle Busch win that race. And I mean, when he crossed the finish line, Nick, you got 122,000 screaming Californians, going bananas about how he won the race. And then we got to see him, give the bow and stuff and jump off the roof of his car. And, he climbs the fence after he wins the race. Like, it was a one-time ordeal, but I don't think I've ever had as much fun at a sporting event like I did sitting through that race in Fontana back in 2018 or 2019. It was so much fun. And, knowing that Kyle won that race, though, too, is just like now really hits even that much harder.
Well, what's the joke all the time? They say, go in a circle, go in a
Yes.
circle. That's what they say about NASCAR. But I've never been to a NASCAR race. I've always wondered what it's like going to a NASCAR race.
Oh man, it's a whole almost like 24-hour day. Like when my dad and I went, just before we move on here, we left our house at like 6 a.m. to get to Fontana, which is roughly about 60 miles or 70 miles north of where we live in San Diego. Because you have to get there early enough, Nick, to park, walk a whole mile from the parking lot to the actual speedway. You've got a whole fledged like outdoor festival where you can go and, see the cars and, maybe meet some of the drivers. We met Bill Goldberg, who was there because Bill was there for a clothing line that he was advertising for. They have like a big headline concert like Billy Ray Cyrus performed, for example. I have a picture of me and my dad with the trophy from that year's race that was behind a glass barrier. We got to see Jimmy Johnson's car from the Lowe's garage up, very up close. Like it's very much a hands-on thing. And then you're still waiting till about 2:00 in the afternoon before the race to actually start. But you got to get there at, dark 30, like you're going to an NFL game, just to park, get food, merch, experience the whole outdoor event. Then you go inside about 2 hours beforehand. My dad and I, Nick, were like 6 rows up from the finish line at Fontana. And then you got to, you sit through the prayer, the anthem, the pyrotechnics, the flyover. Then you get just sit there and you watch these cars go around in circles for 400 laps.
I know it NASCAR could be fun. Like I said, I've never sat at a race, so I don't know what that atmosphere is like. So
is there a track somewhere close by to New York, or am I making that up? Isn't Pocono close by, or is that somewhere else?
No, Pocono's not near Long Island. No, but I have to check it out. I've never done one before. I just don't know the idea of just sitting and watching cars going in a circle. If that's really a thing for me.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. Like the first, I'd say so the Auto Club 400 was 400 laps. I'd say like the first, I'd say 15 or 20 before the caution flags come out. It's like really cool. Then you got like 50 feet of crap. Then you've got the last 25 laps where it gets really good.
It's like any other game. It's like watching a baseball game. Do you really want to watch the first 3-4 innings of a game? No, you want to watch the end of the game. Or in the NBA, you
want to watch the last quarter or the last 5 minutes.
Or last 2 minutes, really, to be honest. But
for the L2M report?
Oh, God. But you know what, though? It's a sad story.
It very much is.
41 years old is really young compared to all the medical technology we have today, where people are living much longer lives when we didn't have this medical technology. But he'll be remembered. And I wasn't happy with the fact that the tribute was done on Prime Video. I wish they
Yeah,
had done
that
that.
part I agree with 100%.
I wish they waited until it was a NASCAR race on TV.
On Fox or
On
whatever,
Fox.
yeah.
I think they messed that one up big time. They did a good job. I saw it, but I wish they could have handled that
I mean,
slightly better.
and before we move on, the simple fact that Jimmy Johnson's potential final race is going to be happening at the Anduril 250 here on Naval Base Coronado's on Prime Video to end their season is pretty sad, too.
Ugh. And I know Nick D's going to give me a hard time when I say this again, but streaming is killing big moments in sports. Think about it. All baseball on Apple TV. Do I really want to? We almost missed Judge's home run, for the record, because it was almost on Apple TV. Enough of this crap with the streaming. Now, I know why NASCAR is doing it, because TV doesn't really want NASCAR. They've proven that the ratings don't do well enough to stay on actual TV, and Amazon is just buying up everything like Netflix is, so they're willing to spend the money to make it reality. So that's why they're doing it. But long story short, rest in peace, Kyle Busch, 41 years old. Unfortunate story, and he'll be remembered, I guess we could say. By the way, we're starting already. Exclusively out of front office sports. This just broke about 22 minutes ago. Yahoo Sports is undergoing a round of layoffs. Yahoo Sports. Impacting multiple longtime NFL reporters, including Charles Robinson, who spent more than 20 years at the outlet, and Charles McDonald, who announced his departure on Blue Sky. But let's quickly take a look into the front office sports story, and this is not new. We're seeing layoffs from everything now.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable to me. And before the football season. So Yahoo Sports has undergone a round of layoffs that includes cuts of several longtime contributors. NFL reporter Charles Robinson was amongst those let go. Robinson had been at the outlet for more than 20 years, spanning many different eras. Charles McDonald also announced at Blue Sky that he had been laid off. McDonald joined Yahoo several years ago after previously covering the NFL for the New York Daily News. Let's see what else. This is from a Yahoo spokesperson, which means it's probably PR based. No pun intended. As evidenced by the last few years, we are investing heavily in our original content, and we will continue to do so as we approach the football season. We carefully consider all personnel decisions and sometimes need to make tough decisions to achieve our strategic goals. That basically means they don't want to spend money.
Yeah.
Yahoo has realigned its priorities over the past few years. It built a combat sports hub, which is on Crown, the whole thing with Ariel Helwani. Emphasized NBA multimedia content with Kevin O'Connor, who I don't happen to like, by the way. Within the last year, the outlet has also hired Kelly Iko and Dan Wolken, signed Ross Dillinger and Nate Tice to extensions, and added Taylor Twellman to its World Cup coverage.
Hey!
In April, Yahoo Sports launched a sports business hub that includes licensed stories. We talked about this, how FOS, Awful Announcing, and Barrett Media are now having licensed stories being showed on Yahoo Sports. Tell me this isn't par for the course.
Yeah, it's definitely par for the course. I mean, layoffs happening, though, too, especially before the NFL season, just doesn't help the matter at hand either, which... My goodness gracious. Also, Nick, by the way, we have some more developing news here. Per Shams of ESPN, the Atlanta Hawks are now signing GM Onsi Sala to a long-term extension and promoting him to being the president of basketball operations. Sources tell ESPN Sala, who was runner-up for the league's Executive of the Year, took over as the Hawks GM last offseason after joining Atlanta in 24, following stints in the executive boxes of both Golden State and San Antonio. So a extension plus a promotion down in Atlanta. Also, Nick, by the way, I did take a quick peek because we do have the Race the Base coming up here in June to Naval Base Coronado in San Diego.
Yeah.
For the event Kyle Busch would have been taking part in, one ticket is $230.
Dang. By the way, because we still have another part of this Kyle Busch story we got to talk about too, which I think we
Yes.
should talk about part 2 of this story, because this made my blood boil.
Yeah,
And
this story is very much, folks, bonkers and ridiculous. But with that in mind, though, in wake of Kyle's passing last week ahead of the race this past Sunday, DraftKings came under massive scrutiny and public backlash from the betting community by strictly enforcing its black and white house rules, grading all active future and prop bets placed on Busch for the event as official losses rather than voiding them or issuing compassionate refunds. So they eventually did backtrack, though. But bettors have slammed the operator on social media for a total lack of empathy and human discretion in the face of a unpreventable tragedy. As the controversy further, though, spotlighted the rigid corporate landscape of modern legalized sports wagering versus a PR flexibility issue. Nick, in the case, though, where DraftKings is completely blind to public relations or hiding behind a cold terms of service clause, or does altering betting rules based on real-world tragedies set, though, a unsustainable legal and financial precedent for bookmakers like DraftKings? So they finally, I believe, though, backtracked on this whole entire baloney story.
yeah, they did, but their reaction to this story was unbelievable to me, because, and I showed it to Callan when the story came out, that DraftKings was considering the Kyle Busch death before the race in Charlotte a loss, because they put another race in the racer in the number 7 car.
Yeah.
So I had said to you the other night that when he died, they should have taken his car off the track. And
Which I feel like they've done in the past when they've had something like this happen.
but why did it take the betting community for you at DraftKings to make the change? Why did you have the whole community was going to fire back at your ass at DraftKings? Because you decided that by technicality, because I think in real life, if they just get replaced, then they don't make that change. Because if they don't give notice that they're going to be replaced, it's not on DraftKings.
And Zambando, Nick, makes a hell of a point. It sucks, though, fellas, that gambling has become a vocal point of this NASCAR story rather than honoring the life and legacy that Kyle brought to the racetrack. I mean, I could not agree more 1,000%. The simple fact, though, that a guy passes away. And
Tragically.
and if they're going to use the excuse of that they put a new driver in his vehicle, that's not Kyle Busch. Just because it's the Kyle Busch car does not mean it's the same exact thing.
Why wasn't the car instantly pulled off the track as soon as he passed away?
No kidding.
Actually, they should have known as soon as he was coughing up blood and he ended up in the hospital that he was not racing.
They should have pulled out of the race in general. Not even putting in a backup driver, making a call to the bullpen or whatever you want to call it. Like, that should not have happened.
First of all, I don't understand NASCAR enough to understand like how betting works when it comes to replacing a driver.
Yeah, neither do I.
But the guy died. Are you kidding me, DraftKings? You held on to an excuse for about 24 hours until
not longer.
Until the whole betting community ripped your ass to shreds, because and I'm going to read you the technicality because someone posted it. Someone said, so it says, because someone asked DraftKings assist, bets on a driver will not be voided solely because that driver is substituted out of the race. Bets will not be voided solely because a driver does not start the race but competes in the race as a substitute. Race results will be attributed to both the original driver and any relief drivers. Hello. How incredibly ignorant is that by DraftKings?
Oh my! I mean that if you had to look up the word ignorant in the dictionary, there better be a picture of that DraftKings logo right next to it. I'm sorry.
First of all, this is not a substitute. He died. How is that a substitute?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that I don't understand. Where I think, though, Nick, that I think that the question, though, is valid. Is this a case, though, where DraftKings is completely blind to public relations by hiding behind their terms of service clause? I think so, and I think, Nick, that there was, though, you might be able to fill this in, though. But I believe, though, that within a couple hours or a day after that whole thing broke, that they eventually reversed course on their initial, the initial announcement that they made, though, regarding that they would be losses because of Busch not competing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. We've seen this before in betting scenarios
All the
where
time.
now DraftKings and FanDuel have both gotten better with injury assurances.
Yes.
Now, I will critique FanDuel more than DraftKings because you have to pay for injury insurance if you want it now at FanDuel.
Oh,
DraftKings does Draft,
that's BS.
DraftKings does it for free, meaning I know in NBA games if they're out before the first quarter ends, they give you your bet back if the player gets injured, which is a good practice considering they weren't in the game long enough.
Correct.
But the only reason that I think this happened, because the betting community said, "Are you freaking kidding me? The guy died."
Yeah.
Now, I get it. I know DraftKings is a business. I get it. We could make that excuse until the cows come home that when you make a bet, you technically have to follow the rules of the bet. But the guy died.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I would really love, Nick, believe it or not, to actually hear our betting experts of either D-Mart, Liam, or even Connor and Nate kind of talk more in depth about this on UW on Friday, because I think it's not fascinating, though, Nick, but it is, though, I think, a very much tragic but controversial storyline. Like Zan said, though, that DraftKings could pull this, baloney in wake of someone passing away, though, rather than, maybe giving the money back or even void whatever it was, or doing something, though, instead of acting like, well, you picked him and he's not racing, it's a loss.
So they responded the next day, I think. So I have the DraftKings support tweet. Now, you tell me if this is a PR statement, because I believe this is a PR statement. Okay.
Is it AI or not?
Well, maybe.
Let's see.
We understand that this is a sensitive situation and appreciate everyone's patience. Cash credit refunds will be issued to all customers with impacted losing wagers. Credits will begin landing in customers' accounts over the next 24 to 48 hours.
That's PR.
If you knew it was a sensitive situation, why did you put out?
As soon as you write, we understand or we apologize, that right there's a damn PR agent writing that damn release.
Well, it's not even that. They're only writing it that way because they feel like because they're going to lose every single customer that made a bet
Yeah.
on Kyle Busch to win the race, and you weren't going to give them their money back because he never raced to begin with. I mean, it's still a PR nightmare, even though they finally decided they had to get their arm tugged to say, you might want to give people their money back
on the offense.
You might want to give them their money back because it looks like it's a PR nightmare, no pun intended, but it was not a good look. It was not. I don't know what DraftKings was thinking at that moment in time, but you know what? At least they did the right thing in the end and gave the money back.
Mercifully, they finally did.
But it wasn't because out of the goodness of their hearts.
No, it's because they were pressured to do so because of the backlash from the fan base, which was, again, rightfully deserved.
Betting companies, man, are brutal lately when it comes to rules. And I think Zan said it right in that comment that gambling has become a vocal point of this story. That betting has taken over the life of sports fans. And
which is sickening.
It's sickening. It's an addiction. Heck.
Brendan Sorsby.
Well, we'll get to that later, even though Nick D claims he should be allowed to play football. But I don't know, man. Just here's what I'll say. Gamble responsibly, number one. Number two, just be careful, is what I'll say, too.
And screw you, Novig.
Well, that's a given. But I was just going to say, just be very careful and understand the fine print when you make a bet.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
gambling companies are not out there to be your friends.
No.
They're out there to make money.
Fish your friends, not food. With that, though, folks, you can go beyond the highlights with a personality-driven look at the games you love the most. Join Zan Bando every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific for Bando's Breakdowns as Zan dives deep into the tape, focusing on bracket-busting collegiate performances, individual brilliance on the court, and the trending news that everyone else is talking about. A master class in sports commentary that prepares you for the weekend ahead with expert analysis and a point of view you won't hear anywhere else, live only on the ETB Network. Make sure you subscribe today over at youtube.com/ETB Network. With that, though, Nick, from all things NASCAR racing and wagering to all things football. But during a Raw interview on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Beth Levis, the mother of Titans quarterback Will Levis, revealed her son had to spend an unknown amount of money hiring specialized cyber investigators to permanently scrape and scrap a leaked intimate video from the internet. Investigators definitively tracked the breach of Levis's college days, confirming that his personal cloud accounts were hacked by a international cybercrime syndicate targeting high-profile athletes. His mother firmly cleared his ex-girlfriend, Gia Duddy, stating she had zero involvement and was also a victim of a same malicious invasion of privacy. But Nick, with more elite young athletes increasingly targeted by overseas cybercrime rings, does the situation involving Will Levis prove that college athletic programs and professional agencies must do some sort of radical overhaul with how they train players on digital security and their online extortion defenses as well?
Well, because when I first saw this story, I was like, whoa. Like, number one, his own mother is calling him out on a gigantic podcast. What the hell, Will Levis? It wasn't enough that you put mayo in your coffee. Now you have a sex tape out there somewhere that
Yikes.
And this guy was drafted semi on the high side, I think, beginning of the second round. And the Titans, I mean, thank God he's not the starting quarterback. You imagine if he was still the.
Oh.
No, they're too busy
We
with.
keeping a buck right now, we ass.
No, thank you, Cam Ward.
Well, that's how Will Levis is kind of acting right now. I mean, goes to show you the guy's a little bit more of a player, no pun intended, than we realized. Now,
Okay, player.
You got to be very careful as an athlete with your devices.
Ooh, you think?
And why was he not protecting his devices is a question I would ask, number one. But for you to have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to get rid of a leaked video, number one, I don't understand this for the life of me, what the fascination is with big name celebrities and and their significant others and having to tape it. Like, am I missing something here? Like, are we the dumb ones here? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I think, though, it really does, in a way, though, Nick, really show kind of where sports kind of is now, but also just like even athletes' lives, Nick, away from the playing fields. You know, I think I recall that we talked a bit earlier on in the early days of PR being on ETB about all the snatch and grab specials of athletes' homes while they were away playing games, you know, across the country, like Joe Burrow and the Kelseys and Luka Doncic and, you know, other athletes, Nick, who, you know, they live in gated communities or in a gated home. And somehow, some way, how are these people out here able to find and locate where these athletes live, you know, or the fact that they, you know, that maybe now they have to start putting barbed wire around their houses or hire 24/7 security officers now to keep their homes safe while they're on the road. It's troubling. And I think it's a troubling trend, though, along with something like this, though, involving Will Levis and having this sort of, you know, intimate video surface. And then because of, you know, overseas cybercrime.
So Will Levis just seems like a bad guy, number one, who doesn't give a crap whether his stuff is being exposed, or wasn't he sitting with a girl that wasn't even his girlfriend or whatever at the draft? Also, if I'm not mistaken.
You got me. You asked me too quickly. Possibly.
I think he might have been. He's a weird guy, like a very weird guy. I mean, when you put mayo in your coffee, that means you're a weird guy.
Does that
And
include Mahomes putting ketchup on steak?
but that's not as bad as putting mayo in coffee.
Yeah. I'm literally drinking my morning cup right now, and the fact that if mayonnaise in that thing, give me a break, buddy.
I just can't stand
No, thank you.
it. Levis is an idiot, in my opinion. Yes, I agree.
I mean that could be a two-way street though about, why do you have to film this sort of stuff?
Well,
And then
that's what I said earlier.
yeah, but that part, and then also the fact about, your name is out there, you're a public figure, and you're going to be more vulnerable to like a cybersecurity issue popping up like this, where they can hack into your drives, your cloud accounts, and expose this stuff to the World Wide Web.
Oh, so Christie said the girl sitting next to him on draft day was his girlfriend. He later broke up with her. Okay.
Oh,
Ouch. But
damn.
but for him to have to come out and say that Giudice stated he had zero involvement and basically cleared her of the whole situation, say it was his fault. So he's a sick freak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, you could say the other thing too.
Well,
Yeah,
obviously.
no, I was going to say insane in the membrane.
I see what you did there. But to answer your question, do players have to be trained about media and
I mean, because believe it or not, I have to sit through some sort of online security ordeal whenever I get onboarded to come back to work in minor league hockey every offseason in August or September.
You're working for an organization, just like
Yeah.
Will Levis is working for an organization. Like when I worked for the school and I did childcare, we were on every time we had to sit through a summer meeting, a 6-hour summer meeting. Don't ask me why, but that was and a good hour of it was security because they updated the inside of the schools to have as what I like to call the Men in Black push buttons that would shut all the doors inside the school. I know it sounds funny, but it was true. No, but they had the buttons on the wall that like you'd flip the case open, you push the button, and all in one fell swoop, they close. Literally. So I was waiting for a comment like this. You would think that after celebrities like Kim K, people would be more careful when it came to sex tapes. You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised how people handle these situations. But this is all Will Levis. And by the way, for his mom to go on a big football podcast and just say, you know what? My son did it. He's an idiot.
Kick him out of the house.
Bravo.
Send him to the basement.
He's probably living in the basement now these days.
All right, Nick, from all things NFL, back to the FIFA World Cup. We'll have an announcement about the World Cup here at the top of the hour. But, of course, Nick, gambling industry analysts are now projecting that the upcoming FIFA World Cup will, in fact, shatter global records by generating an unprecedented $3 billion in legal betting handles. The staggering boom is largely credited to the exponential expansion of legalized sports mobile betting apps across North America since the tournament's last iteration in Qatar 4 years ago. As sportsbooks now gear up for these numbers on live in-play micro betting options and complex tournament prop cards, the massive volume of legal cash puts a heavy burden on compliance trackers to watch for global match fixing and also arbitration style schemes. So, Nick, with a record-shattering $3 billion in legal volume moving through sportsbooks, does the international soccer community and governing bodies have the infrastructure in place needed to properly monitor and protect the tournament from hyper-targeted integrity risks?
Yeah, I'm going to say no. They're not going to be able to protect this from a gambling perspective. Soccer is one of the biggest sports in the world, period. Forget the U.S., the world. And how do you stop insider information? How do you stop teams from throwing games? How do you stop all that?
We had a benchmarks episode come out in the early days of the first season that I documented about Andres Escobar, who played
the
for
refs.
This was the 1994 Colombian national team, who was a heavy betting favorite to win the World Cup in 94 when it came to America. And Colombia lost to Team USA because Andres Escobar happened to score an own goal that basically lost Colombia the match. And because, Nick, of the corruption in Colombia at the time with drug lords leading the, leading the country forward, and all the money from all those cartels being put on Colombia to win the World Cup. And Nick, this is sacrilege across the global soccer community. If a team or a nation like Colombia doesn't win the whole thing, they will murder players and murder coaches. And Andres Escobar, Nick, was murdered outside of a nightclub he was at, and all he was doing was was there to get his mind off of the tournament. And the leaders of the other Escobar camp, no relation, they went there, Nick, and they jeered him, and they were pointing and laughing in his face. And again, he was known for being a very, level-headed, gentle, they call him the gentleman of football. And all he said was, enough, show me some respect. Don't worry about the own goal. He even had to write a whole article in the newspaper in El Tiempo saying, I feel bad for letting you guys down, but we cannot turn to violence because of how our team went out in the tournament. And then Nicky walks to his car, and all these drug lords come back and they shoot him 7 times. And every time it was goal, 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 goal. Like they would, mock him. And they kill a guy because of an own goal, because they put all their blood money and drug money on them winning the World Cup. This, and this is what scares me, though, about how wagering has gone, though, Nick, because in a lot of nations like Colombia, soccer is life and death. If you think that, MLS rivalries like San Diego and LA is life and death, watch the World Cup this year and see how a lot of these nations take it when it comes to them winning or losing.
Well, think about the story you and I had discussed about Cattell Marte.
Yes.
That whole situation where, were people wishing death threats on his mother or
no, they were mocking Marte for his mom passing in Chicago last season.
Oh, that's right. And all over betting, all over parlays not hitting.
Can we throw Jaron Duran in that whole thing too when it comes to how he, said, hey, mental health is a big thing and stuff of that caliber? And I know that, yes, he flipped off a fan for barking at him, but at the end of the day, come on now. All because of betting.
And the thing is, I can't blame bettors fully for this. You have to blame the betting companies. You need to blame the leagues. We need to blame the partners of the leagues, because they're the ones making the deals with the leagues. They're the ones that are obsessively running commercials on sports talk radio stations and TV stations.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to kind of quickly say that since they made the jump to Westwood One Sports, Nick, on 97.3, all the national shows are unlistenable. Because everything's about wage. It's like, I'm not here for this crap. I don't care.
Well, to be fully transparent, Westwood One Sports is BetMGM. That's what they are. You hear them say it on every show. We're brought to you by BetMGM, blah, 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 blah. Yes.
Staying in soccer, but some breaking news from The Athletic. Another MLS coach bites the dust. Bradley Carnell is out as the head coach of David Waitman's Philadelphia Union 1 year after Philadelphia won the #1 overall seed and won the Supporter Shield. This is the 4th different head coach fired in the last 3 weeks in MLS.
It's funny how being a 1 seed doesn't matter in sports anymore, does it?
Especially in Major League Soccer.
But just to get back to what I was saying, we now have, did you ever see the day where we would have BetMGM Network, which is now Westwood One Sports, or VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network, which is now being licensed to Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius XM, or it has its own digital channels. Did you ever see the day?
No.
That we would have exclusive betting network programming ever. Now, I don't want to hear it where people are going to say to me, but guys, you have a sports betting show on your network. One show. And you have to. You don't survive on a network without sports betting content. Anyone who says you can survive without sports betting content on a sports network, they're lying to you.
And 2 people on this network are in states that you can't legally wager on sports. Hi.
So And by the way, the guys that we have hosting now, Nick D and Liam did a good job. Connors really knows how to break down sports betting. Like, let's be transparent. He knows how to keep P&L statements because he does it part-time. And in case you don't know what a P&L statement is, it's keeping track of your wins and losses because you have to make sure you have enough money to pay taxes off the winnings at the end of the year. Now that they've raised it from that you could claim 100% to 90% of your winnings or losses, depending. But long story short, there's no way they're going to be able to stop possible insider things. And also, the story I just shared with you a little while back during the show. Now, I'm kind of surprised by this, actually. So we just saw what happened to FanDuel, right? And
I was actually going to bring that up because Channel 31 on the cable box here at my house has now dropped the FanDuel branding for the Angels Baseball Television Network branding.
Really?
Yes.
That means they must have bought more of it out. Possibly.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
But remember we talked about FanDuel over the last month, how all the programming is gone. I don't know what happened to what's-her-name's program, Kay Adams' program, and Michelle Beadle's program, and all that stuff. I think they're airing them digitally now, if I'm not mistaken. But here's what's interesting to me, talking about the World Cup. So according to Front Office Sports, FanDuel is launching a World Cup show.
Oh, this is with Bob Bradley, Rob Stone, Bruce Arena, and someone else, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to botch this name. Greg Berhalter?
Oh, yeah. Greg Berhalter, Bruce Arena, Bob Bradley, and Rob Stone.
So apparently it's a 10-episode run that starts on June 1st. I don't know if that covers the whole World Cup, but unless they're doing it weekly. But
I would think it'd be weekly. That way it goes all the way till the final in New York.
Or twice weekly, because 10 episodes for once weekly would be way more than they would need, right?
You would think, yeah.
It's got to be twice a week, I'm assuming.
Now,
I don't understand this.
Is this going to be a digital thing, or are they going to put this on television somewhere? I don't know.
So it says, let's find out. The show will strive to provide analysis of matches. Let's see. Strategy breakdowns, personal storytelling, detailing the coaches' stints with the U.S. men's national team. Oh, here we go. The episodes will air on platforms including FanDuel's YouTube channel, Tubi, which is a Fox partner, which makes sense because the World Cup is on Fox, FanDuel Sports Network. But what's left of it?
Yeah, what's left of that is right.
FanDuel TV Extra, which is their fast channel. Spectrum Sports LA.
That is the Dodgers affiliate.
And MSG.
Because
if you remember, MSG and the Yes Network both air, like, I don't know what they call it, like stocked programming from...
Yeah.
Or paid programming from DraftKings and FanDuel. And you know what? That kind of makes sense because it's New York and LA. Of course, they're going to pick those two markets. I mean, most other affiliates don't exist anymore.
Yeah, Spectrum Sportsnet for the Lakers, at least, and the Sparks, when the Sparks aren't playing games, they air a lot of like front office sports content, SBJ content, or even gambling content. So that it makes sense.
But here's the interesting thing. This announcement comes months after news emerged that FanDuel TV Racing Linear Network is going away. That's the horse racing thing that I told you. I get that random channel on YouTube TV over here. The horse racing outlet is going to cost 100 jobs, though.
Yikes.
Studios. Here's my answer to what I was asking. Studio shows such as Kay Adams, Up and Adams, and Run It Back with Michelle Beadle, Lou Williams, DeMarcus Cousins, and Chandler Parsons will continue to air on the network's other platforms.
So they're safe. So
to be honest, why didn't they just do that sooner?
Exactly.
Because
by the way,
yeah.
A earlier announcement, but this did just catch my eye per ESPN's PR team. Matt Berry has been named the new host of SEC Nation.
Well, we'll get to that later because that's later on in the show. But you know what? What I will say is Laura Rutledge is one of the hardest working people in this industry, and she deserves every penny she makes of whatever new deals she signed.
Before we get to the top of the hour, Nick, we'll get to one quick story here involving Tom Brady and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who, per announcements made, that both Brady and Zlatan will be joining Fox Sports as they pull out all the stops for its World Cup coverage, announcing that seven-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady and international football legend Zlatan Ibrahimovic will team up to co-host an exclusive digital content series across the network's multi-platform mobile apps for the upcoming World Cup. Fox is leaning heavily into the star power and outspoken personalities of both Titans to drive engagement among casual viewers, aiming to directly bridge the gap between traditional American sports audiences and diehard global soccer enthusiasts. So, Nick, when you pit two of the largest, most dominant alpha personalities in modern-day sports history in the same digital studio, is this a brilliant marketing masterstroke done by Fox, or an expensive clash of egos that distracts from the action on the pitches of play across the World Cup in a few weeks?
You really think I'm going to call this brilliant when both of them work for Fox?
Nah.
I mean, this is a crossover. Tom Brady is the number one color analyst for the NFL for Fox. To say this is brilliant would be ridiculous.
No, and then you have Zlatan with his great career when he came to MLS, which will be documented too on Small Market or on Benchmarks in a few weeks' time, about how he came to MLS and really lit it on fire in a way that no one had ever seen when he left his European club. This is just another avenue, I think, Nick, to drive more engagement for Fox when the World Cup's going on, though, by having these two guys in the same studio.
Yeah, you want to know what Fox is saying?
Like that! You like that!
I mean, why would they not like it? Tom Brady and Zlatan together?
Yeah, and you've got two of the most, egotistic athletes out there who are doing the show together too, which I think is going to be, in a way, I think it'll be good for some of the casual fans out there. But like the diehards like myself and Trevor again will have a big announcement here in about 3 minutes, though. We're not going to watch this crap.
And remember what we said, that they're calling it like some form of GOAT something? Really? Really? Do we really need to know Tom Brady involved with the word GOAT? Like, I don't get that. This is a crossover. I mean,
that's all it is.
To say it's brilliant programming by Fox, that would be like saying, I'm trying to think of another example where there would be a crossover like that. Can we think of any other?
Charles Barkley calling, doing color for a basketball game instead of being in the studio. Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because Charles Barkley and Dick Vitale sitting, and I forgot who the play-by-play guy is usually.
Was it Dave Fleming?
No, Pash.
Dave Pash?
I think it's
Dave
Pash. Because it used to be Pash and Walton.
Yes.
But think about that. Pash and Barkley and Vitale. Who wouldn't watch that?
Precisely.
And I think that was before the merger happened with Inside the NBA and ESPN. So this is not brilliant programming. This is just them taking advantage of Tom Brady working at Fox.
Exactly. All right, Nick, big announcement time here for the weekly update. The end of May, the start of June, the World Cup around the corner, and a new pop-up show, Nick, is on the horizon, plus a massive weekend of UFC in June. What do we have coming up, my friend?
Well, you said the first one, so I don't know if we have a banner for it or not, but Empty the Pitch, our pop-up World Cup show with the McClurg guy over here and Trevor Williams, will be making its debut on June 10th for a World Cup preview show, which will air at 6 p.m. Eastern after Press Row on that Wednesday. So tune in for that. You'll be probably an hour, previewing the full World Cup event, which takes place from June 11th to July 19th. So it's showtime. There it is. Coming soon. Empty the Pinch with Callan, McClurg, and Trevor Williams. Cover the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Debuts June 10th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then once the tournament starts, so that'll be June 13th, and then every Saturday going forward until July 19th, wherever that ends, you will get Empty the Pitch. Oh, my God. If you're pinching people, that's a whole different issue.
Oh, my God.
Well, don't ask Will Levis's mom. She might say something else. But yes, catch Empty the Pitch with Callan and Trevor, as I said, every Saturday once the tournament starts, 11 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. So check it out. We do have pop-up soccer programming.
Yes, and we will also have full in-depth coverage, maybe by myself or with both of us, after every U.S. men's national team match as well. So you'll be looking out for that, though, too, when they have their first game on June the 12th versus Paraguay, and then the following weeks after as well, too.
Yeah, so don't miss it. I will tell you, live streams are insane. You saw me go live after the end of the Knicks series. Our number ticked. As soon as I pressed the live button, it went to like 300 people watching live instantly. You will get a shitload of people probably watching for analysis after.
We're going to get 1 billion views.
I hope so. So, yeah, that's coming. So don't miss that. Another show also that we have coming to the network as well. Now, you already know because he's here doing 2 other shows, but Give and Takes with Nate Miller. So you see him on Unnecessary Wagers. You also see him on the ETB Lounge, and actually you see him on Hitting for the Cycle. So you're already seeing him on 3 shows in contributor fashion. But his show, Give and Takes, is debuting on this coming Monday, which is June 1st, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. It'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern every Monday. And then once we move to the football season, it'll permanently move to Tuesday nights. So you're going to have some lead-in programming once the football season comes to Cranium at midnight. Also, another announcement as well. ETB Sports. Oh, okay. We'll do that first. Empty the Bench and UFC Freedom 250, June 13th and June 14th. A lot of programming coming for this. So we will have what Fight IQ. Sorry, my brain is in a million places. Fight IQ, Puncher's Chance, with Tom Albano and hopefully Zambando, who are going to reunite after they did MMA Outsiders for quite a few years. They're going to come. They already did ETB Sports when I wasn't here and I was on vacation. But they're coming back. They're going to hopefully do a 2-hour version of Fight IQ Puncher's Chance from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the plan. We'll obviously have Between the Ropes with Christy Wilson. Now people are saying why, and I'm like, it's the same company. They're both TKO branded properties, so it's fine. And then we will flip over to the next day because it's rare actually because a main card for the UFC is usually on Saturday. It is on Sunday. So you'll see Bando's. It's a Bando's Breakdown extension. Zanzinger Part 2, which you hear every Sunday at 11 p.m. 11 p.m. 11 a.m. If he's on at 11 p.m., that's a whole different issue. 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Tentatively looking at an hour, possibly, because that's the actual day of the Freedom 250 card. And then that'll be it for that pre-programming. And then we have Lounge. Now, I don't know when we're starting Lounge. I'm trying to figure that out. I think it's going to be 8. I think we're going to stick at the normal time, do 8 to 11, because the card's not going to. UFC Freedom 250 is not going to be over at 11 p.m. Eastern. So you guys will be able to get through the ETB Lounge. And then Tom is going to come back and do a UFC Freedom 250 post show after the card ends. That could be midnight. That could be 1 a.m. Eastern. So just stay tuned for that. And then if that wasn't enough for you, well, actually, before that, I have one more program to add to the Freedom 250. So we are bringing back the Ultimate Fighter series that we did called Tough Enough. So that is going to air that night after the post show because the Ultimate Fighter first episode stupidly airs on the night of Freedom 250. Figure that one out. I have no idea. But so that all that programming is coming up that weekend. So don't miss it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. You don't want to miss it. Okay. Now you can flip that banner. Program alert. ETB Sports, my show with Zambando, will officially go live starting with the next episode on June 1st. Originally, we were taping Monday, and it came out Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, June 1st. And every Monday going forward for the future will be live at noon Eastern every Monday going forward. No more tape shows of ETB Sports. And eventually, Bando's Breakdowns will follow that for episode 100. And that's another 7 or 8 episodes away from now. But every show, once that happens, will be live.
There you go.
Did you ever think that was going to happen ever?
I think we covered all the bases here now. Here though for the update.
But did you think we were ever going to be a fully live network?
Take that, Ted Turner. No, I'm kidding.
Did you ever see that though?
I never thought we were going to.
But that's kind of the sign of the times, right? It's like a hybrid podcast culture now that we live in.
People want the instant reaction and people's instant thoughts, and I think this is going to be great.
And we don't have to run into a Hubert Davis situation with moving the goalposts anymore. I'm just kidding, guys. I use that example constantly because Nick D said that Hubert Davis' seat was protected, and then he got fired right after the show.
Those guys had no luck whatsoever.
So it helps them, I think. So, yeah. Once episode 100 in 7 or 8 weeks happens with Bando's Breakdowns, our whole network is live. So there's no missing anything at this point.
We got a program every day of the week, so there's no excuses, people.
There's no excuses, and like I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Hit the notification bell. That way you get alerted of everything that we're doing. We have a lot of irons or coals in the fire, however you want to look at it, whichever saying pertains to you. And we're working on sponsors. We're working on building views in the right way, not the Isaiah Leung way. But we have a lot, and we have some potential stuff that we're really working on. So just stay alert. All right, let's get into hour number 2. Iran moves World Cup base camp to Mexico. In a sudden administrative twist, the president of the Iran Football Federation confirmed that the national soccer team has abandoned its long-planned World Cup preparation base camp in the United States. Well, we're going to fix that because there's an update to it. Officially relocating its entire operations to Mexico, the Federation pointed to administrative friction and logistical bottlenecks as the root causes for the last-minute shift. The move underscores the deep, complex geopolitical undercurrents that continuously bleed into the logistics of international athletic tournaments. From a pure team management standpoint, how severely does a sudden countrywide base camp relocation disrupt the team's training rhythm and administrative stability when you're just weeks away from the opening match?
Yeah, I mean, not that much, because what we did eventually hear, though, is that they were paid to move the camp back across the border to Tucson, Arizona, I believe, where they were supposed to be from the word go. And again, Nick, it's nothing new, sadly, when we cover international sporting events like the Olympics or the World Cup. There's always something going on, when it comes to political tensions and stuff. And, that I don't think, Nick, we will ever experience an Olympic Games or a World Cup or anything global without there being some sort of international issues going on, because the world can never seem to agree on what to have for lunch on a given Wednesday afternoon. And I did, though, understand why Iran would make the move to get out of the U.S. because of the scrutiny right now involving all the crap going on with the war over and the Strait of Hormuz and whatnot. But at the end of the day, though, we talked, I think, though, Nick, before, we even got to this point, though, could there have been talks of Iran having to withdraw out of the tournament and that FIFA was going to financially cripple them because they didn't fulfill, making the tournament, though, but then having to pull out because of the bombardment of their country and having to flee to go and find practice time somewhere where they could, actually practice or whatnot. And now there's been reports, too, that one of the Iranian flags will be banned from stadiums in America, because it was like the pre-war or like whatever it was. So now they're, so it's one thing for this happening. Then you censor their fan base in a way that they can't do this, they can't do that, and, I think the main concern, though, Nick, I would have, though, for the Iranian national team is the security around their camp and the security around them going to and from the stadium. Because I, Nick, have not to their degree, though, but I have experienced, though, a war-torn part of the country when I played international baseball in Mexico in 2007 in Culiacan, Sinaloa, which is the lead drug capital of Central Mexico.
Didn't you say they had to walk you around with like Uzis or protective weapons?
We had loaded AK-47 Mexican military members on the bus, in front of the bus, behind the bus, and around the hotel for the whole 2 weeks that we were there.
And didn't you say like they basically like somehow spoke to the cartels and basically said like, "Hey, can you just like let us play?"
Because you had the entire world playing in this high school baseball tournament for 2 weeks at the lead stadium of the Culiacan Tomateros.
So what was it though? They basically said, "Hey, can you guys just cool it for a couple weeks?"
which was shady business because the lead guy in charge of the Mexican Baseball Federation had ties, didn't have ties, but was able to call up the lead cartel and say, enough is enough for the next 2 weeks.
You're right. That is a little shady. I'm not gonna lie.
But that is my main concern, though, because having been through it once already, when you're an American going overseas to Mexico, for example, or even going to Italy as I have in the past, my main concern, though, becomes, Nick, what the heck's going to happen, though, when they play their first match? Away from them getting booed, like we've seen like seeing Israel getting booed at the Olympic Games or what have you. And I understand, though, that whole thing about can you move our games out of the U.S. because they don't want to deal with the political retribution of this country when it comes to playing in America.
I mean, here's the problem. This is all geopolitical tension.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
And politics are always going to get in the way of the World Cup because it's the biggest international event that we have. And don't say the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear it. The World Cup is the biggest international event, period, that everybody watches. It's not even a debate, a discussion, or anything. I would say that the World Cup is watched by billions upon billions of people. I get it. I know the Super Bowl is the top 10 in the U.S. and hundreds of millions. Listen to what I just said. The Super Bowl is hundreds of millions. Soccer and the World Cup is billions internationally, including the U.S. Everybody stops to watch the World Cup. There are people who take off from work to watch the World Cup. Now, I'm assuming people take off from the Super Bowl too. Now, it is on a Sunday. A lot of people don't work on weekends. Not everybody, but most. So, I don't know. It's tough because, again, as is being in the U.S., we've had our issues with Iran before.
By the way, real quick, Nick, not to interject, but here is the number, or numbers, I should say, when it comes to the World Cup versus the Super Bowl for TV viewership over the last 3 iterations of the tournament.
I'm going to predict, though, that it's not close.
The 2014 World Cup, 1.01 billion.
Oh, wow. It's not. I thought it was like billions. Okay.
The Super Bowl that year in 2014 had 111.5 million viewers.
Okay, so I was right, though, that it's not close.
The 2018 World Cup, I believe, in Russia, 1.12 billion for the World Cup, 103.4 million for the Super Bowl. Most recently, the 2022 Qatar World Cup, that again we had talked about Grant Wall's death mysteriously in the press box and how that was a shame of a product. 1.5 billion. That your Super Bowl had 99.1 million viewers.
That was my point. I don't want to hear that the Super Bowl is it's the most watched event in the U.S. It's the most watched event.
And don't also give me this malarkey about, well, I only care about America. Okay, you sound like a regular, arrogant American citizen when you say that.
Everyone watches the World Cup. Everyone. Now, what I will say I find annoying from time to time is the amount of commercials they run for it.
Oh, yeah.
I like the event. I will sit and watch some of the World Cup. But once the event is on, I don't need 10 million commercials telling me that it's the biggest, greatest event of all time. I know it's a big event. I know it's an international event. Let me just watch the event and stop bombarding me with commercials. Please. That's all I ask. But
I need to go. I'm going to go double check real quick to see where exactly Iran is playing their games. I feel like they're playing in LA and playing in Seattle, much like Team USA is, but I might be wrong. But I mean, I'm not surprised, Nick, that they tried their hardest in a way. And again, I think it's rightfully suggested. It's for the betterment and the safety of their football federation and their team to not be in our country right now because of the ongoing rifts going on across the board. And to clarify real quick where exactly Iran is at when it comes to the tournament, they will be playing their games in group letter G. That includes Belgium, Egypt, and the Kiwis, which is New Zealand. Their first game is at SoFi Stadium, Nick, on June 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific time versus the Kiwis. Then they're going to play in LA again on the 21st. And then they're going to go and play in Seattle on June 26th.
it's too much traveling, if you ask me.
That's
why can't they keep it on one place?
That's why I said, though, that you get the week off after you play a match because of the rest period and stuff, and then you have to go and travel because it's just how the groups work now, because you have 48 teams now, and you got to fulfill all these obligations to play these games around 3 different countries.
Why don't they just do 4 groups of 12?
Because that would take forever for everyone to play each other one time.
But it would go quicker if you didn't have all these divisional plays.
Yeah,
like you're treating it like divisional play.
Well, it's like a round robin. You play the other teams in your group one time, and that's it. That'd be 11 more games you'd be adding by playing the rest of the group if you did four divisions of 12 or 4 groups of 12.
But maybe it goes faster because you keep it going rather than.
Yeah, but they're dragging this out because it's across 3 different countries too, though, in North America.
Well, I think they're also dragging it out because everyone loves the World Cup.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now, if they could find a way to get this to 70, they would.
No, don't put it past them. They probably will eventually.
But the problem is this going to turn into March Madness, where
you run the risk of diluting what's already been good?
And
and by the way, this is the first year or first tournament with them having a 48-team field and not what it was beforehand.
Because aren't you going to get to a point where it's going to be an embarrassment? Certain soccer teams should not be showing up to this event.
Oh, I agree. And for those wondering too, by the way, there's a full week of international friendlies coming up, Nick, that I'm trying to actually go to because the Kiwis are using USD's football stadium for their training ground and their base camp. And we have, I think, 4 games at Snapdragon Stadium that I might be able to get into for like $40. And it's 2 games a day starting June 5th.
You should go check that out and take some videos, see what you can find.
I need to double check the schedule about what I'm doing for work first. But I've been very much intrigued, though, in all of the SDFC supporter groups, too, in our WhatsApp chat. We're like, hey, we might be able to get like $40 seats for 2 games on June 6th or 7th if you want to come out. And I've been very, very much wondering about that for the upcoming week. But I mean, this move, though, by Iran, which, by the way, I think to fulfill the other obligation, Nick, Iran was also, I think, paid money, as I said, though, to move their camp back across the border and back into Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's because they need a base camp in the U.S. I think because they want all the teams base camped, I think, in the U.S., depending on where they are.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a few, but I think Mexico's allowed to base camp in Mexico, and Canada can base camp up in Canada. All the other nations, though, I think are all around. I think here locally, we've got New Zealand at USD, and I believe the Swiss national team is at the Jewish Academy off the 56 freeway. And I think we may have Jordan and somebody else because there's 4 games coming up. I need to double check, as I said, but there's 4 games over 2 days that are going to be held here for basically just for tune-up games, exhibition games, or as we call them, friendly matches to get the guys ready for the tournament. Oh boy!
So we have an interesting update from college football.
Oh boy!
And gambling.
Oh great!
But it's not Brandon Sorsby.
Oh no!
So according to Pete Thamel, the SEC announced today that it will have mandatory sports gambling education for all its athletes. SEC's Associate Commissioner for Basketball, Garth Glissman, announced the initiative. The SEC notes approximately $12 billion were wagered on games involving at least one SEC team.
What? Holy cow.
Oh, and yeah, Nick D. So Brandon Sorsby should be allowed to play, right?
Ooh.
But yeah, $12 billion wagered on games involving at least one SEC team. And there's no problems with gambling, right? Right?
Bravo to the SEC for finally making this a thing when it comes to gambling education.
And I'll throw you another one.
Oh, no.
So there's an update on the Paramount WBD situation also.
Oh.
So according to, and I like this site, Sports Media Watch. I'm sure you've seen that website before.
Yes.
So Paramount reportedly appears closer to receiving US DOJ approval for the WBD merger transaction. Fox Corporation, and I'm sure you saw this story too, is said to be paying under $500 million for the FIFA World Cup rights.
Right.
Because apparently it had to do with some kind of weird rights thing that that they were trying to sell the rights somewhere else, and basically they were going to sue if it happened. So they got it for, I guess you call a valuable price.
I guess.
So, yeah, 2 big stories. SEC has gambling education, and Paramount and WBD look like it's close to a merger.
And I also, Nick, did look at the schedule. So they're calling it the Countdown to 26 International Soccer Weekend at here in San Diego. The Swiss versus the Aussies at noon on June 6th. Colombia and Jordan on June 7th at 4 o'clock in the evening. Get in price right now for the Swiss and the Kiwi, or for the Swiss and the Aussies, is $77. Colombia and Jordan is $55, and it's only the lower level of the stadium and not the full entire stadium being opened up for these 2 games.
Oh boy. Update on Josh Jacobs.
Oh, and this one didn't make the rundown today because it broke so late yesterday.
Packers running back Josh Jacobs has been released from jail today after his arrest on several domestic violence charges. No charges have been filed at this time, but the Brown County, which is in Wisconsin, the district attorney's office, said the investigation, quote, remains open and ongoing.
Yeesh.
If you didn't catch this story yesterday, unfortunately, we wouldn't blame you because it kind of got buried. Josh Jacobs has been charged with, 5 charges? And I'm trying to find where, if I can get the charges really quick, because when I read you this list, your head's gonna spin. So let's see if we can find the charges, and for some reason they're not popping up, but it was like domestic violence and choking, and it was like, holy cow, like what? What did you make of his charges though when you saw that list?
Mind-boggling. I mean, just crazy stuff though about what he was charged with, and we'll see how this plays out, but it does not look good though with those charges whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he was intimidating people. Oh, I think I found it. Okay. So here's the charges: battery, domestic abuse, criminal damage to property / domestic abuse, disorderly conduct / domestic abuse, strangulation and suffocation, and intimidation of a victim.
Good Lord.
His career is going to be over if he's proven.
Oh, big time.
So, and by the way, he's a really good running back. People are forgetting that, by the way, and I'm not condoning it. Let me be very clear about that. Not condoning it. I'm not like assholes on this network who say because it's all about wins and losses and that he should be allowed to do whatever he wants. But you know what? If he's an idiot, if you do the crime, you do the time, as they say. But all right, should we get back to the show here?
Yeah, real quick. Christy Wilson wrote in too to say, still wondering how the Paramount WBD merger will affect AEW. I don't think it will really do too much, I don't think.
I mean, it was already on TNT and TBS already. Maybe it ends up on Paramount, maybe. or CBS or Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing it changes. It doesn't really change much else.
Yeah. With that, Nick, back to the NBA and about the updates for both the Seattle Supersonics bid and also the Vegas bid. The pertinent reporting done that Vegas Golden Knights owner Bill Foley is now finalizing a formal bid to land the expansion franchise for the NBA in Southern Nevada. As the absolute centerpiece of the proposal, Bill will plan to commit over $300 million in private capital to execute massive upgrades and structural renovations for T-Mobile Arena, also home of the Vegas Golden Knights. Bill's strategy provides a ready now turnkey world-class NBA arena right on the Vegas Strip, though, which also directly challenges rival investment groups who are attempting to construct a brand new arena south of the city. Nick, by offering the NBA a immediate, beautifully renovated new arena without waiting on a ground-up project, has Bill Foley effectively locked down the inside track for the Vegas NBA franchise ownership group?
You know what? I give this guy a lot of credit. He's willing to spend the money. He bought the Golden Knights, who might potentially win another title.
Yeah,
and that was an expansion franchise.
This is their third trip to the final in 9 years as a franchise.
And by the way, winning 2 in 9 years would be quite an impressive feat. And they've made the playoffs a few times on top of that.
They've made the playoffs all but 1 year in franchise history.
That was a down year, if I remember correctly,
yeah,
right?
A lot of injuries, a lot of older guys on the roster.
But it's amazing. A lot of people want to play there, and that's tough to be an athlete and play in Vegas, especially with all the gambling.
And by the way, it's also not just the Golden Knights, because Bill also owns the indoor football league franchise, the Nighthawks, too, who also won a championship last year. So he's already won 2 titles in his time as an owner in Vegas, which is just mind-boggling to think, though, too.
It just sounds like he knows business and how to. By the way, bringing in Tortorella to end the season, I don't think. First of all, John Tortorella deserves a lot of credit. I know he gets a lot of shit because of the way he acts, and rightly so.
Yes.
And being an idiot and not showing up for the press conference after the game. Should they have been fined $100,000 and docked a second-round draft pick? I think that was a little much. But you know what? I thought his interview was perfect after the sweep, that this was the playoffs. Now it's a whole secondary battle. The Stanley Cup.
That, and also Torts has been known, though, too, to applaud the opposition, and he really gave the Avalanche their flowers for their season, and also saying, anyone who wants Bednard fired, though, can kind of kiss my ass because he doesn't deserve to be fired after that great of a season.
Right. And you had the whole thing with, what was it, Cassidy, the coach?
Yeah, Bruce Cassidy getting fired in the very end of the season.
Which... not being blocked from getting another potential position, which, by the way, I think that's bullshit in every way, shape, or form. If you're fired and someone offers you a job, you should be allowed to take it.
Oh, yeah.
But Foley deserves a lot of credit because he's willing to spend the money. Some owners, they just buy a team and they don't want to spend the money. John Fisher, ring a bell?
And I also think, though, Nick, that Bill probably knew, though, when Vegas got the expansion franchise, and I was at the expansion draft almost a decade ago when they first drafted their first ever franchise. Bill Foley probably, Nick, knew better than a lot of people, you've got to hit the ground running in this marketplace to win the city over, because if you don't, You're an afterthought behind David Copperfield and Chris Angel and Carrot Top and all these, and all the big names of Vegas. And if you're not winning right away, if you're not, pulling your end of the rope, you will get lost in the Vegas nightlife because, okay, this is a nice little novelty to have. And then, but then though, Nick, I think Arash Markazi had a stat. Since the Knights went there 9 years ago, 3 trips to the Cup final and a championship. When the Aces went there, they've now won 3 or 4 WNBA titles. The Raiders had their one playoff run in 2020 when they finally broke that long drought, though. And that now all of a sudden, though, Nick, Vegas sports, as you said, though, with all the distractions that people have said about, well, it's the roulette wheel and the Vegas flu, and how can you concentrate playing games in Vegas when you can be tempted by gambling? All they've done is win no matter what. And it's been just bonkers to think, though, about how that after all those years, Nick, of that stigma hanging around the city, that now we're seeing what they've become. NHL, the NFL, the WNBA, maybe Major League Baseball, the NFL going there. Of course, the Super Bowl is going to be there this year. And that they've now have become a world-class sporting destination that now players, as you said, feel the need to go there and play because of the culture being built away from Carter Hart's issues, away from the game, that the culture there is like you win and you have a whole entire very different fan base in the palm of your hand. Much like how San Diego was so different, though, Nick, with us only having baseball and soccer. As I think I've said, though, plenty of times, I've gone to a couple of games in Vegas. That is I'd say 85 to 90% Vegas local, Vegas resident crowd.
That's hard to do.
That you don't find in a lot of markets away from probably my hometown, except when you have all the transients who are, in the military, who grew up, who are from like Philadelphia or your neck of the woods, though, who live here, but they still root for their hometown ball clubs, though. But it's hard to capture that and encapsulate that when you have 90% of your arena being full of not just your fans, though, Nick, but people who have Las Vegas, Nevada on their driver's license or state IDs.
Well, that's the whole thing about the geolocating nonsense I was talking about with fans, that they don't.
Well, even then, the Knights don't do that. Unlike what the Padres have done, what the Cavaliers were doing, that they don't geolock the postseason for just their residents, though. They want everybody in there to do so. But even then, during the playoffs, it still, though, is like 95% Vegas fans that go to those games.
No, I agree totally, but it's just, I think that Foley gets it as an owner, that you have to be able to resonate with the locals before you start doing everything nationally and figuring out how to build on that culture. This is an interesting update I just came across. We have our first MLBPA offer.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is according to Jeff Passan, and yes, it's verified, so don't at me. The MLBPA made its first proposal to Major League Baseball today in the collective bargaining battle. Among the top line issues, a competitive integrity tax. That's got to be new.
CIT. So that'd be something. So that would be something different than the CBT, which is the collective luxury tax.
Right. So this is called the competitive integrity tax for any team that does not spend $150 million.
So in a way, they're disguising it as a
floor.
Yes. Thank you.
A spending floor, which is what's been argued forever.
Yeah, for the last 30 plus years.
But wait a minute. This is coming from the MLBPA. Oh, so they're saying they want more contracts. Essentially, more money to be spent.
Or do they want the bottom feeders of the league to actually spend money to keep them from going to the damn Dodgers and Yankees?
Well, that too. Number 2, increasing minimum salary from $780,000 to $1.5 million, almost doubling.
I can get behind that.
I mean, I think, first of all, anyone could live on $780,000. Now, I know there's taxes and all that stuff, but you're still walking away with what? $300,000, $400,000 maybe? Okay. Increase in base CBT.
So increasing. So they want to bump the competitive balance tax up further for the luxury tax.
This is a big jump, by the way.
Oh,
244 million to 300 million.
So that almost in a way would be like in one of the spending aprons in the NBA, it sounds like.
That's a lot. $56 million jump?
That means the Dodgers can hand out one more $50 million contract and defer the damn money.
I'm going to tell you right now, the owners are not going to agree to the competitive integrity tax. They're not.
No, they won't, especially like Fisher and the Marlins owner and Tampa Bay's owner. Pirates.
Rockies.
Oh, they're a different story.
The minimum salary, I could see that one happening.
I mean, that's been a dogfight though for the last 6+ years since COVID about how the minor leagues have been treated, as I documented on the longest bus ride episode on Small Market Edition.
I don't think the CBT threshold will pass.
That's too big of a jump, even for my liking.
Because that means you have to have more money. Or you have one, they want you to spend more, and two, they want the whole threshold to be higher.
Yeah. So no mention of the salary cap, though, so it's not much of a surprise per what Paston's reporting, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's written so far. That's the first time we've seen anything. Oh, wait. This is actually a triple thread. I'm seeing this now.
All right, go on.
So next, changes to the revenue sharing system that would distribute more money from local television revenue, whatever's left of it, but decrease the amount of distributed from in-stadium revenue to incentivize teams that win and draw larger crowds. Free agency for players who are 30 at 5+ years of service.
Which I think right now it's 6 years of service time, I think.
Now, listen to this last tweet, because this one is kind of interesting. So, teams that do not spend revenue sharing dollars cannot collect money.
Oh, yes.
So, meaning if they don't spend the money on the team, they shouldn't be allowed to collect it. Teams that receive revenue sharing and win receive bonuses. So, this is what it should be. Incentive to win.
Yeah. Instead of just putting out a ship product every 5th day.
And then it says pre-arbitration bonus pool increases from 50 million to 180 million. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
Minimum tender in arbitration of $3 million.
Okay.
Arbitration. Now, I don't understand this one. You might know this from being in baseball, but arbitration Super Twos jump from 22% of players to 44%. I don't even know what the Super Twos are.
To qualify for a Super 2 contract, a player typically must accrue 3 years of Major League service time, with 1 year of service time equaling 172 days on the 26-man roster or the Major League IL to become eligible for salary arbitration. Super 2s are designated that allows a select group of players to become eligible for arbitration before reaching 3 years of service time.
So it's basically just a qualification type thing?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Still, though, that's the first real offer we've seen, though, from anybody involving Major League Baseball when it comes to the first offer given out with the lockout impending in a couple of months.
But I do like the revenue sharing dollars cannot, if you don't spend revenue sharing, that you can't collect bonus pool money.
Finally.
But of all these things, the competitive integrity tax will never pass.
No.
I don't know if the minimum salary will pass. And the increase in the CBT threshold. You are right, though. I'm surprised they haven't said anything about a salary cap. But this is from the MLBPA.
Yeah, and what have they long said? We don't want a salary cap.
Another tweet just came in from Jeff Passan. The MLBPA's proposal maintains the game's current financial structure with significant changes The revenue sharing proposal aims to increase money given to lower revenue teams, but forces them to direct that money to the major league team. Many more dollars going to players too. Aren't they mostly a split revenue though?
I would think so, yeah.
So I never saw that as a problem. Potential revenue. I think they're almost 50-50.
I thought so too. Anything further?
That's it for now, but that's the first official offer from the MLBPA side of things. We haven't heard from the owners yet. And I'm going to tell you right now, the owners might jump down their throats and say no. I don't. This is going to be a long battle.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I think I've said a couple times, Nick, about the simple fact that a franchise in the Padres, they sell for $3.9 billion the year or months before this impending, doomsday lockout hits by December the 2nd.
The first.
Yeah, December 1st, that which is just more shocking. I think we may have, Nick, even said on Press Row when Joe Lacob was asked at an event by FOS in San Francisco about why did you not buy the Padres, he said, if I would have known if I would have maybe known about where the lockout situation stood, I would have made the move though to buy the franchise and stuff. And we can say it's this or that.
Probably doesn't want to lose the year of potential loss of revenue.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would wonder, though, how can a team, though, sell for that much money, though, when you have all this stuff happening around the game right now with this impending lockout? With that sales tag with it, too, of $3.9 billion.
I don't know. It's like going into a casino and spinning the roulette wheel and saying, like, all right, do I pick red or do I pick black? I have a 50-50 chance of the color landing, but am I willing to take that gamble? I don't know. Speaking of gambling, looking for that plus money edge, Connor Rowland and Nate Miller have you covered on unnecessary wagers every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. They break down the tactical ripple effects of the week's biggest matchups, from the underdog effect in the NBA playoffs to the emerging powerhouses on the MLB diamond. We look past the box scores to find the hidden value. Whether it's the math behind a 4-leg stabilizer or the chaos of a 6-leg lottery ticket, we find the trends you need to know. Gambled informed with unnecessary wagers. Check it out Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on the Empty the Bench Network. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, to hear more. And I'm sure they're going to address the Kyle Busch situation with DraftKings. And
I would hope so. It's right down the rally.
And probably going to preview the NBA Finals, because by the time we get there, we should know.
Game 1 is on June 3rd.
Depending on how tomorrow goes, they might be able to preview that series from a betting perspective. And I will tell you right now, OKC, if they do win, will be a massive favorite over the Knicks.
With that, Nick, speaking of the New York Knickerbockers, but in other news, though, Madison Square Garden Sports, or MSGS, has officially filed for a Form 10 registration statement with the SEC, not the ones that we're thinking of here, folks, marking a monumental step towards a structural corporate spinoff that will completely separate both the New York Rangers and the New York Knicks, plus their affiliates in both Hartford, Connecticut, and Westchester, New York. The move follows an initial board approval back in February to explore a formal split of the two massive sports properties in both the NHL and NBA, with the separation aiming to allow public stock market values or public stock markets to value the hockey franchise independently, unlocking a maximum new shareholder equity. Nick, Wall Street has long argued that the Rangers' value is somewhat buried beneath the massive financial shadow of the Knicks underneath the unified MSG banner. Does splitting apart the Rangers and Knicks, though, unlock their true corporate values, or does it weaken their overall media right leverages, in your opinion?
Can we just call a spade and say this is looking for a tax break?
Gotta be.
Well, because what other reason would you be doing it? You're not doing it because of value proposition of both teams. They're New York teams. They're both valuable, even though the Rangers haven't won shit since
94.
And the Knicks haven't been to the finals since 1999 and haven't won a title since the 70s.
Right.
Okay? So it's not like they currently have championship value. Do they have value as New York franchises? Sure. You have
course.
MSG, you have the theaters, you have the ambiance.
Local TV.
Yeah. So, of course, because James Dolan was if you remember in that vote for the national TV, who was the only one that voted no on that deal?
James Dolan.
Because now I get it, because in New York, local sports television is king still.
Same with Los Angeles.
Same with Los Angeles. Like we said with the FanDuel deal with that soccer show, Sportsnet LA and MSG. They still believe in the New York and LA markets. But what I find interesting in this deal, or not really deal, but the spinoff, I think to me, it's a tax break. He wants to split them up into two businesses, and I'm trying to look up just the information to see why he's doing it, but it's got to be a tax break. That's the only thing I can really understand. But it says James Dolan is splitting the teams by decoupling the two franchises. Dolan aims to unlock higher market valuations and eliminate the Dolan discount, a trend where the combined parent stock traded below the true individual worth of the teams. Come on, man. You really think I'm going to believe that? You want a tax break, man. You might want higher values for your teams, your New York teams. You already have 5, 6, 7 times your value. Well, let's do a quick look. Let's see. Knicks value of franchise. Let's see if we can find. Okay. So the Knicks are currently valued between $9.85 billion and $10.1 billion.
Damn.
Okay. How much more value do you want out of the franchise?
No kidding. Yes.
That's funny.
And he censors his fan base because he's a damn idiot.
But you're valued at almost $10 billion.
Come on, dude.
How much more of a greedy pig do you have to be by separating the franchise? How much more value do you think he can potentially get by splitting it into another business?
Yeah, nothing. Come on, man.
I mean,
jeez.
Stop being a greedy asshole, James Dolan. Like, now I'm going to look up the Rangers' value. First of all, it's not going to be anywhere near what the Knicks value.
No, and they're still at least top 5 or top 10 when it comes to the NHL for franchise valuation.
So the Rangers are approximately worth $4 billion. So you're telling me at $14 billion of combined value, you need to separate the company out to make more?
Give me a break, man.
What are you, the NFL? What are you, Roger Goodell? Oh, we gotta put all the games on 10 million different streaming platforms, and we need a roadmap to find where they are. I thought it said Weast. Like that. That's what I feel like right now. Like, remember Charles Barkley said about the NBA? Like, I need a freaking mode map to find where the games are on. Holy cow! You can't make this up.
Now, and by the way, that also does include the Hartford Wolfpack, who is the AHL affiliate for the Rangers playing in Hartford, and the Westchester Knicks, who are the G League affiliate for the Knicks, too.
By the way, speaking of either separating or expanding, the Seattle Supersonics 2028 expansion bid is formalized. One Roof Sports Entertainment, the deep-pocketed parent brand guiding the NHL Seattle Kraken, announced it is actively finalizing a formal bid this summer to officially bring the beloved Seattle Supersonics back to the NBA by the 2028 season. Oh, wait, that means the OKC Thunder actually have to give the history back to the Supersonics, including that title. The proposal heavily leverages Climate Pledge Arena as a premier, sustainable, dual-tenant asset ready to instantly receive an NBA team. The bid aims to tap into massive corporate demand and decades of local nostalgia to heal the wound left by the team's 2008 move to Oklahoma City. With Seattle's hockey group putting pen to paper on a formal bid, how much pressure does this stack onto Commissioner Adam Silver to formally announce the NBA's expansion timeline before the year ends? No pressure.
I mean, no pressure, but, it's about damn time. They literally, Nick, have, what people I think get lost in the shuffle here about what was once Key Bank Center in Seattle.
KeyBank Arena. Yeah.
Key Bank Arena before it became Climate Pledge Arena, was they weren't allowed to demolish the building because it is a citywide landmark. It's been called that for a long time. All they were allowed to do was renovate the interior of the building, and that's all that they were able to do.
And that's why they had to move.
And with that, though, in mind, though, too, since they did that, now you've got the Kraken, you've got the Torrent of the PWHL, and the Storm of the WNBA all now playing in the arena now on a full-time basis. And Kraken games have long been sold out since the NHL went there finally. After, they were always like on the radar for the NHL until the 2019 season or whatever it may have been. But this makes absolute sense, though, Nick, to put a franchise back there. Now, what I think, though, is a bit interesting is for a long time, Nick, that the Seattle basketball fans despised the NBA because of how they left the marketplace in 2008. And I think that we even had a interesting idea for a Benchmarks episode about how you yourself went from being a New Jersey Net fan, but still followed the club to Brooklyn when they left because whatever, I forget exactly your reasoning, though. But that
I had no choice. I was a Net fan. Yeah.
And then now, though, Nick, here is this other drumbeat, silent majority with the new governor or the new governor of New Jersey, saying, one of my first acts in office is to somehow, some way pry the Nets back across the river back to New Jersey. Now, that would have to probably mean that you have to build a new arena and get out of the Izod Center and build a new venue somewhere in the Meadowlands or what have you. But though, Nick, it does feel long overdue. And I think because of the fact, though, that we have the targeted look of Vegas, now there, and now Seattle having the arena back up to snuff, though, it's about time, though, that the NBA patches up those, those wounds, Nick, of nearly 20 years almost here. By the time, just think about that if in fact the Sonics do come back in 2 years, Nick, that'd be 20 years since the franchise left for Oklahoma City that would happen.
And give them their championship back.
Their branding and their name and what have you.
By the way, I have a really terrifying update on the Kyle Busch story.
Oh, boy.
So TMZ has the details of exactly what went down.
TMZ. Okay.
They've been pretty accurate with a lot of these stories over the last year or two.
All right.
So NASCAR legend Kyle Busch reportedly battling bacterial pneumonia. I didn't even know that there was a bacterial. For days to weeks before his death.
Oh, no.
And his condition allegedly spiraled fatally in just 24 hours once sepsis set in. According to his death certificate obtained by U.S. Weekly, how are they getting the death certificate?
That's so bad.
Busch's pneumonia progressed to sepsis roughly 1 day before he died last Thursday. From there, sepsis. Now, this is, if you're eating, I ask you to stop.
Viewer discretion's advised.
From there, the sepsis reportedly caused dangerous clots to spread through his body.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Before things took an even worse turn with severe bleeding that sent his body into shock.
That part's believable.
As TMZ first reported, a 911 caller said Busch was coughing up blood and struggling to breathe before he was rushed to a North Carolina hospital after being found unresponsive inside a racing simulator.
Yeah.
The caller told dispatchers that Busch was on the bathroom floor and felt like he was going to pass out. Yikes. Now, Kyle's death came 11 days after a NASCAR Cup Series race in which he radioed to his crew. This is the first time I've heard this. And asked for a doctor to give him a shot after he finished the race.
Oh, no.
No one, now this news comes out after we talk about the gambling, but no one will race the number 8 car after his tragic death, with Richard Childress Racing suspending the digit in his honor until Brexton is ready to join NASCAR. That's his son.
I still don't like the fact that they put some of those numbers back in circulation for NASCAR drivers. Like, no one should be allowed to drive the number 3 car ever again in wake of Dale Earnhardt's of Earnhardt Sr.'s death. No one should be. No one. I mean, no, yeah, it may be family, but even then, I still don't think anyone should be driving the number 8 car for Kyle Busch.
Well, I was going to say back then, the only one that should have had any access to that car was Junior at the time.
But I think he drove the number 8 car and then the 88 car for a long time.
I'm just saying, if he wanted to drive the car, he would be the only one I think that should be allowed to.
Yeah.
And same thing for this. If his son wants to drive his number 8, I would be okay with that. But no one else should.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time I'm hearing any of this.
Ooh.
That the blood clots made its way through his body. He passed out on the floor in the bathroom. He passed out. Now, I didn't realize the full extent of passing out in the simulator, but that told you.
Yeah, that was already a telltale sign, sadly, I think.
Would you agree, though, that the practices at professional sporting events, sometimes these emergency vehicles, these people don't move fast enough in these situations? Because what happens if they rushed him sooner, knowing that there was a situation?
Yeah.
Why, first of all, why didn't his team react to when he said, "Give me a shot" after the race?
That right there should have been alarm bells.
So that's kind of terrifying. And come on, guys, we got to do better when it comes to protecting athletes. Oh, but they make millions of dollars and blah, 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 blah. So what?
No one's going to remember. No one's going to remember you when you die about how much money you made in your lifetime.
Money means nothing once you pass away.
Yeah.
But that's kind of terrifying that we're first finding out that he was passed out on a bathroom floor and all this stuff. And it sounds like they didn't move quick enough to react. Another update from Jeff Passan on the Major League Baseball side now.
All right.
Major League Baseball is expected to make its first proposal to the union tomorrow.
Oh, goodness.
Now, listen to this. Owners, let me just extend this out to make sure he didn't write anything else. Okay. Owners have long planned to push for a salary cap, which we already knew. And the details of it will set the stage for a labor battle leading up to December 1st and the expiration of the current collective bargaining agreement. There you go. We knew that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to go anywhere. You know, I do applaud that there was a offer made from the Players Association today, and then tomorrow there's going to be the big rebuttal. And then now it's like the gloves come off now, Nick. We're going to be having bare knuckle boxing with these two sides now for the next, 4 to 5 months, 7 months?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to get very ugly before it goes anywhere. But that's like any negotiation. Look at what we dealt with the WNBA negotiations for months.
Oh, yeah.
How ugly did that get before?
Very out of control.
And to be honest, I still think the WNBA players were undervalued, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Yeah, I don't see this getting any better. As soon as you hear the word salary cap, which baseball does need in some form, I'm not saying it has to be like the NFL, where you have to literally count every dollar you spend. But I don't want to see $300 million, $500 million, or in the case of Shohei Ohtani, $700 million, or Juan Soto, $800 million. A fan can't afford to go to a damn game.
Yeah.
Because of those contracts. They can't afford the parking. They can't afford the tickets. They can't afford to eat the food because everything is so expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear players fighting, say, "Oh, well, then it restricts us from making money." You make plenty of money.
Exactly.
You make plenty.
All right, now we'll get to hour 3 here. We'll skip ahead for hour 3 and get to the ongoing issues with the French Open happening right now. But Nick, over in Paris, France, High-ranking tournament officials and organizers for the French Open were forced into a massive high-stakes emergency meetings with player representatives. The crisis has been sparked and fueled after a wave of tennis's top global stars orchestrated a coordinated media protest, refusing normal press duties over severe scheduling complaints and player treatment when it comes to pay and other things. The friction highlights the increasing leverage, though, of modern-day elite tennis players who are pushing back against the rigid Grand Slam policies. The protest has sent shockwaves throughout broadcast partners who rely on mandatory player media access for tournament coverage. So, Nick, are we looking at a temporary flare-up, though, at Roland Garros, or is this media protest the definitive opening salvo towards a true unified player unionization effort that will change the power structure of major tennis like the French Open?
I think this is a terrible practice. I do.
This is only going to get worse before it gets better, I think, too, if you ask me.
But I just think it's a terrible practice. The players basically protesting against the media. They should be fined for.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let me clarify. They are showing up, but they're saying they're only going to get 15 minutes. This shouldn't be allowed, that basically they're saying we'll show up when we feel like it. We'll only show up for a certain period of time. I don't love that. I don't think that's a great practice, but the whole revenue thing, this is a battle in every sport. Okay. And so I think they make 15% of the current revenue and they want to push it to 22%. I think was the number they were contemplating. Now, you have to remember, this is an individual sport. So whatever piece of the revenue you're getting is going in your pocket.
Right.
Now, you're sharing with your team and all that stuff, but I don't like that they're protesting the media. It's not the media's fault. That your problem is with the federations, not...
Yeah. Why take it out on them? They're not a part of the federation.
And you know what the federations are going to say? Hey, you're screwing our partners by not showing up. Don't pull in Naomi Osaka and just refuse to show up for your media, or you just sit there and... You're better off showing up and saying nothing than putting a limit.
Just take the page out of Marshawn Lynch's playbook and just say, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm here so I don't get fined. That's basically where we're at.
Yeah.
At this point. But these players make plenty of money in endorsements off the court. Okay. Look at the guys like Alcaraz, who can't, unfortunately could not be at the French Open, and he's not going to be at Wimbledon either due to the wrist injury. But I think he had like a $300 million deal with Nike.
Yes.
Roger had a deal forever with Nike. These guys act like they don't make any money.
Yeah.
They're not poor people. Now, I understand, like, you have to be a ranked player, you have to be in the top of the game to make money, but the top players are complaining.
Which, again, just makes no damn sense whatsoever. And to take it out, though, on the media doing their job and on the broadcast partners is just a very much ill look right now for these players.
I'm just reading the FOS story. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. But the French Federation also plans to meet directly with some of the players involved in the coordinated work to rule protest, is what they're calling it.
That's a mouthful.
More than a dozen tennis players, including both number ones. So that was Sabalenka and Yannick Sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Limited their media availability to just 15 minutes and fulfilled only their mandatory media requirements. Come on, man. That looks so bad. The primary cause for the player protest has been revenue sharing. The players are lobbying to receive 22% of revenue at the Grand Slams by 2030. The prize pool at Roland Garros is 15% of projected revenue. And it's down from 15.5% from last year. So the number went down.
Wow.
Last year, the top players sent 2 separate letters to tournament organizers requesting a larger revenue share alongside additional player welfare improvements, including a pension and maternity benefits. But changes have yet to be seen, and players have become increasingly restless, with some even threatening to boycott tournaments.
Boy, if it gets that far, tennis has a massive firestorm on their hands if that is the case.
But I don't think that's a good look.
It's not. Not saying it is. It's just now you're almost reaching a fever pitch or boiling point moment now between the players and the federation.
No, but I'm saying I don't think it's a good look for the players if they boycott.
Oh, absolutely not. No way, no way, no how.
They're acting like they're dirt poor. Are you kidding me? Sabalenka has enough sponsors. Yannick Sinner has sponsors. They're both number ones in the world. I'm sure they're doing just fine.
Alcaraz.
I mean, there's so many men and women on the tour that have sponsors. You wouldn't be able to compete on the tour without sponsors.
Absolutely, especially to be in the top 150 still.
Unless you're raw dogging it and just and spending millions of dollars for all the travel and everything, you wouldn't be able to afford that.
And if they really think, though, that protesting against the media is going to move the needle for them, they have another thing coming.
If I was the federations, like, I guess technically you can't fine them because they're showing up to the media obligation.
They're fulfilling the duty, but not fulfilling it like you and I think they should be fulfilling it.
Now, if you want to go back to that incident, if you remember the freelance writer from The Athletic who was asking dumb political questions.
Oh, yeah, that nonsense.
Like, I totally get that. Like, you don't want to talk to those people. That makes total sense.
Yeah,
But
totally.
now, what is considered their mandatory obligations? I'm assuming that would be TNT because they're the main partner.
Yeah, TNT. Yeah, it's got to be Turner Sports. Yeah.
And then I don't know who else would be. I guess whatever international partners have the rights to the French Open. But Sinner said last week that he feels a lack of respect from the Grand Slam organizers. Quote, when we have to wait for over a year for just a small response, having the best 10 players, it's not nice. Guys, you make millions of dollars. This is a little ridiculous.
It's getting out of control, that's for sure. And
it also says organizers for Wimbledon and the U.S. Open also reportedly plan to meet with the player representatives at Roland Garros, which runs until June 7th, but there's no meeting scheduled with the Australian Open organizers. This is going to get ugly. If Sabalenka or Sinner or those players sit out, I'm forgetting another player too. Who are we talking about?
If Alcaraz was playing, for example.
No, but what's her name? Who I was telling you was sitting at the TNT desk yesterday.
Coco Gauff.
What? Oh, Coco Gauff. She was threatening to sit out tournaments. That's a huge name.
It's probably one of the best names going for American tennis right now, not named Pegula, Anisimova, you name it. Ben Fritz.
And also, I think we talked about this last week, the PTPA credential battle.
Correct.
So there was an update on it. So separate from the protests, but over the same issues is the ongoing lawsuit from the Professional Tennis Players Association. Was denied credentials for the French Open and Wimbledon and filed a motion in federal court against the organizers, requesting to reverse the ruling. However, a judge ruled Friday in favor of the tennis organizers. The PTPA noted in a tweet Friday that the judge cautioned the Grand Slam organizers that it, quote, may consider their undisputedly retaliatory conduct in assessing any similar motions in the future. So they ruled in favor of the organizers.
I mean, are you that surprised?
Well, no, because that's money to them.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
You think they're going to rule against the organizations and instead of the media people?
Hell no.
That's kind of effed up. Like, really.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, it's amazing how we don't say anything to the media or the players, but we give all the organizers all the power. Like, amazing to me. Speaking of legal power.
Oof. Yikes.
The Supreme Court refuses to intervene in the Brian Flores lawsuit. You and I have had a field day over this one. So the U.S. Supreme Court delivered a massive legal blow to the NFL on Tuesday, officially refusing to intervene in the class action racial discrimination lawsuit spearheaded by former head coach Brian Flores. The decision permanently allows the high-stakes case to proceed toward a wide-open public trial.
Oh, boy.
The NFL's legal defense team had filed a major appeal trying to force the legal fight out of the public eye and into private league arbitration. Yeah, because the NFL wants to control. The high court's denial means Flores' attorneys can now aggressively pursue public depositions, internal front office emails, and hiring records. A la John Gruden's case.
Yes.
Now that the Supreme Court has completely stripped away the NFL's favorite legal shield of private arbitration, how terrifying is the reality of wide open federal discovery and a public jury trial for the league office?
I mean, Brian Flores feels the need to risk his long-term future to stand up for his colleagues at this rate, because of, as we said, though, Nick, last week when the story broke that, I made the very unorthodox comparison about judging the book by its cover because of how NFL franchises go about hiring minority candidates, and they don't really see, what actually the resume shows. Like, again, we said about Eric Bieniemy for a long time being held back for a head coaching position, but he's a hell of an offensive coordinator, for example, or, Todd Bowles or whatever, whoever else comes to mind, though. Like even Ron Rivera came to mind at one point in time because of because of him coaching through cancer. This, though, is a massive blow, Nick, where I don't know how the NFL might recoup this. And again, like I said, this may take, Brian Flores sacrificing his current job and maybe future job opportunities in the NFL to stand up, though, for people like him, though. As we said, though, Nick, how often, though, do teams in the NFL actually fulfill the Rooney Rule obligations, as we have said, though, and that, Ron DeSantis wants them to strip away that rule from the NFL when it comes to hiring people of minorities or what have you, or female coaches. That, I don't know if this really will move the needle too much, though, but if Brian Flores believes in what he believes in and he wants to risk his job and long-term future to stand up for those like himself who have been, in a way, like not allowed to get another head coaching job because of their skin color, then so be it.
Is he still with the Vikings?
Yes. As far as I know, if he is.
I'm surprised any NFL team would allow him to be on a roster right now. I don't know if first of all, it'd be ironic if he listed the Vikings on one of his teams and he was on the team coaching. That would be unbelievable. He's not going to win this case. He's definitely not going to win this case. Now, I don't know what evidence he has to prove himself, but yeah.
Yes, Brian Flores is the lead defensive coordinator for the Vikings still.
But he's not going to win this case. Absolutely not going to win this case. He's been at this for what, 6 years?
I feel like either the last 5 to 6 years when it came down to his dismissal as the Dolphins, as we said about the Dolphins and how Stephen Ross lured him out to his yacht about some quarterback that wound up being Tom Brady. We'll give you money to tank games and lose games intentionally, and
$100,000 a game. I think he said
$100,000 per game if you lose and stuff like that. Where I think the Dolphins were I think it was, as I said, though, I believe it was the Dolphins and the Giants who were the first two lead defendants for it ballooned to where it's at now.
I think the Ravens too,
and the Ravens, maybe Denver too.
Well, he pretty much took himself out of the job candidacy for those 4 places.
But then last week, though, we heard, though, Nick, that's now what, like 25 teams now have been named in his lawsuit.
I'm kind of curious to look this up myself to see what teams he did put. Okay, so Dolphins, Broncos, Giants, and Texans were the first 4 named.
That's correct. Okay.
The Dolphins alleging that owner Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 per loss during the 2019 season. The Giants and the Broncos alleging that both teams held sham interviews with him merely to fulfill the Rooney Rule. The Texans alleging the team removed him from the head coaching consideration in retaliation for speaking out and filing his discrimination lawsuit. So this is going to get ugly. And
big time.
I'm surprised the Vikings are still employing him, to be honest.
For how much longer, though, you know?
Flores' legal team has also issued subpoenas to nearly every other team in the league. Wait a minute. They just said every other team in the league. Is that include? Uh-oh.
Nick, some developing news in the last 15 minutes involving another legal issue, as we've been also covering the Wander Franco trial down in South Florida and down in the Dominican Republic.
Did that make the show?
The Athletic now reports that experts now believe that experts believe within baseball circles that Wander Franco's career in baseball is likely over.
Well, yeah, no shit.
Despite him avoiding the jail time with what, of course, we heard come out over the past couple days.
Do we even have that listed as a topic?
No, we do not.
I'm surprised we didn't put that in the show.
It was, and it wasn't picked.
Damn. In case you didn't know, Wander Franco was found criminally guilty, but didn't get jail time because they said the mother, he was part of what? It
was an extortion ring.
So they're claiming that the mother was basically forcing a money situation and with her daughter, and she got 10 years, if I'm not mistaken.
She got 10 years in prison time for that, yeah.
That whole situation is effed up in every way, shape, or form.
Remember, and it's also a young player pissing away their career after getting a 13-year contract from Tampa Bay, or a team in general.
I'm wondering, though, if they're going to have to pay that.
Yikes.
Because he's on the restricted list right now because of the lawsuit. Well, because of the crime.
The whole trial and then the verdict coming out yesterday, what have you.
But I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Zan, which our episode comes out on Thursday this week for episode 319 of Empty the Bench. Criminally responsible, but no punishment?
Yeah, that in a way feels like it's a not guilty verdict. In a way, it's almost like, Nick, and I don't want to bring this up, but I will because it's been a hot commodity time point in the NHL. The fact of Carter Hart still being allowed to play with the Vegas Golden Knights after him and the Canadian group of 5, were ruled not guilty when it came down to the gang rape of a female during the course of a Olympic or a Canadian athletic gala back in 2018. And that there was apparently 8 other players that were apparently in the room when it all happened too.
So I have the actual terminology of what they said about Franco in the court. So this was from the ESPN. So Wander Franco was declared criminally responsible. That's the term that they're using. Okay. For the sexual and psychological abuse of a minor. But he will not serve a sentence for it. In the decision, the judge considered that Franco had been the victim of extortion and blackmail by the minor's mother, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for sexually trafficking her daughter. What kind of fucked up parent do you have to be? I'm not, first of all, let me be very clear. What he did was 1,000% wrong in every way, shape, or form. But the mother deserves to take way more shit than he does.
Why do I also think, Nick, in a way, though, if depending on where this case was tried, that maybe if it was in the DR, that maybe there's different rules in place than what we have in the American judicial system. Yeah,
there is. First of all, the age difference is more fucked up in the Dominican Republic than it is here. But according to the judge, quote, it seems contradictory to declare criminal responsibility and at the same time exempt him from punishment.
So what is it? Are you just staying neutral on this whole thing, or what are you doing here?
The court has granted Wander Franco a judicial pardon due to the partial circumstances that made him a material victim, but not a legal one, whatever that means. So they're saying he's a victim, but he broke the law.
So he's both the suspect and the victim of this whole entire fray. Got it.
Well, no, I wouldn't say suspect. He was technically I don't know how to say it. He committed the crime.
Yeah.
But they're saying he was kind of jettisoned into committing the crime because of the mother. How could you be guilty but then found not guilty? Am I missing something here?
It sure feels that way, and it's bringing back thoughts that people have had about Carter Hart with the Vegas Golden Knights, where again, that story was a very much long, lengthy, publicized issue in Canadian court involving Carter Hart along with other players in the NHL, former players in the NHL, were up to I think 13 or 15 players allegedly gang raped a female after a awards gala for the 2018 World Junior Championship hockey team. 5 of them were in the NHL, and all but one of them resumed his career, and that, of course, is Carter Hart. And that, of course, Nick, has led to a massive revolt of the female fan base in the NHL, rightfully so, because it's in a way like this case, though, Nick. It's like they're guilty, then the Crown or the judge in the Canadian 5 case basically said no, because the victim or the other side of the story kept lying and changing their story. And still, though, that led to whatever led with that whole case, though. In this case, though, this is some traumatizing shit here. My goodness.
So here's the other weird thing. The full sentencing will be June 16th. What are they sentencing? The mother?
I would think it'd be the mother, because if Wander Franco is off the hook, then it's all about the mother for the trafficking and then the extortion.
Franco also said he had not contacted the Rays, but that his lawyer had.
He's done.
I swear, if they somehow get him back in baseball after what, 3-4 years of this going on,
boy, if this happens, then I would think it'd be the same thing with the Carter Hart situation, that a lot of fans would begin to turn their back on baseball for letting this happen. Because, I mean, dare we say, Nick, look at what happened to Julio Urias to the Dodgers.
Yeah, but that was domestic violence.
Still, though, you'd be letting a guy back in who was involved in something like this, though, when it comes to actions against the minor and then taking money for it, too?
No. They're both horrible. But MLB actually has a zero tolerance on domestic violence.
Or a personal conduct policy, yeah.
I don't know what, I'm assuming this would fall under.
It would have to, because this would be a part of child endangerment in some way, though it's not his kid.
So it says here the Rays will continue to cooperate fully with Major League Baseball as it completes its review under the league's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. So they do have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that falls under sexual assault or child abuse, though. Which one? Probably both.
I would think it'd be both.
In November of 2021, he signed an 11-year, $182 million contract. You don't think he's going to fight like hell for that contract?
And his agent's going to fight like hell for it, too?
He wants to be paid. I don't blame the agent because he did the work.
Yeah.
I don't know about him. He shouldn't get paid a dime.
I concur.
But they can't rip the contract up until they figure out what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, this, oh my goodness.
That's a massive problem that they have to get to the bottom of and figure out how they're going to fix it, because Major League Baseball's had a lot of effed up players. Aroldis Chapman, Jose Reyes. If you remember, I think Chapman almost punched his hand through a closed garage door, or Jose Reyes through a glass sliding door.
Oh, yeah.
They're bad guys, man. Baseball never had this problem for a long time. Now,
yeah,
they're turning into the NFL.
Slowly but surely.
He should not be back in baseball. Hell no. And if we get to a point where they say he's back and you hear his name get announced over the PA system, you don't think people, women especially, are gonna start a riot outside,
or much like in the NHL's case, that they will stop watching the product and cancel their tickets. I've seen that so many times, Nick, where one particular hockey brand who's led by a female, like their forget her name eludes me, but she comes to a tournament I announce every year here in town, and they were raising money this entire NHL season when Carter Hart signed in Vegas. every goal he gave up, they would donate money to support a sexual abuse like safe house for women across the country. I forget the name of the organization, but they did that every single game Carter Hart played in and gave up a goal in. Who's not to say, though, Nick, that if Franco is back somewhere in Major League Baseball, when he comes to the plate, like you said, though, that he gets booed, like Machado gets booed and Tatis gets booed at Dodger Stadium, for example, because of their on-field play, more than it is with what this guy has been alleged of doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but we all know that money's money. Like, because every time we see all these leagues, they don't care if these guys do this stuff. I just want to clarify: was Hart legally found responsible for that case or no?
Let me go back and double check, because that whole thing was just very much a weird ordeal. When it came to it. So to go back, so the main controversy with Carter Hart went back to the 2018 Hockey Canada sexual assault investigation, and then more political fallout too with him as well. So back in January 2024, Carter Hart was then with the Flyers, and given an indefinite leave of absence after he and 4 other players of the 2018 Canadian World Junior Championship hockey team were charged with sexual assault in London, Ontario, Canada. Following a lengthy, high-profile trial, a judge acquitted Hart and the other players, concluding that prosecutors failed to prove the claims beyond a reasonable doubt. The Flyers did not issue Hart a qualifying offer, making him a free agent, where he signed with the Vegas Golden Knights later on, and has since then been with them since then over the course of the last several seasons, for that matter. And with that in mind, trying to relook at the criminal case, though, for what, of course, happened with this ongoing issue, that all 5 of the players, I believe, Nick, were in fact, they were indicted on the charges, and then basically the charges got dropped on them.
Okay, so none of them were legally, well, they were charged and then they were dropped.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand from a legal scenario that.
So on July 24th of last year, all 5 defendants were found not guilty through acquittal, with the judge stating that she did not find the plaintiff's evidence credible or reliable, and that the Crown cannot meet its onus on any of the counts. In Justice, Kararukia's ruling, she cited Justice Anne Malloy, quoting, "Although the slogan believed the victim has become popularized of late, it has no place in a criminal trial. To approach a trial with the assumption that the complaint is telling the truth is the equivalent of imposing a presumption of guilt on the person accused of sexual assault and then placing a burden on him to prove his innocence. That is antithetical to the fundamental principles of justice enshrined in our Constitution and the values underlining our free and democratic society." Open and close quote. The acquitted players and those who were free agents, though, were allowed to sign in the NHL as of October of last year, and became fully reinstated by the league as of December 1st of 2025. And Carter Hart was the only one who signed a contract over the course of that fallout.
Okay, so by letter of the law, they were charged, the charges were dropped, and they're not legally on the hook, is what
Yes.
it sounds like. So then why did Hart get a contract and none of the others did?
A few of them were already playing overseas, and I don't know what it was, but those other players, by the way, were Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, who once played in Calgary with the Flames, Michael McLeod, Cal Foote, and also Alex Fermenton. But I believe Fermenton was playing over in Europe somewhere when he turned himself into police back in January of last year.
So then I understand why people are mad, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but if the charges were dropped, then you got to go kind of by what the law says, right?
Especially in Canada with where the case was tried.
So I understand people are upset.
And rightfully so. They should be.
Right. But if they're not legally being held by the law, you can't stop them from a team you can't stop a team from wanting to sign them.
And the same would go for Joel Quenneville and Stan Bowman, who were, of course, a part of the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks issues, too, with the assault of Kyle Busch by a video coach.
Yeah, that was terrible. I remember.
Quinville missed, I believe, 3 full seasons, and then paying it back via reaching out to sexual assault survivors and going to safe houses. And he's done a lot of that work, though, in Orange County since he got the job as the Ducks head coach, and that they served their time, and stuff of that caliber. But this Wander Franco story, though, Nick, is very much, wow, my goodness.
I guess the only thing that's really holding him up is that because the mother was really the executor of this scenario. Because according to what they're saying, are they saying that if the mother didn't put the daughter out there, that he wouldn't have done it?
Who knows? And I think that this is also, Nick, a very good promotion for Small Market Edition. There is an episode coming out eventually regarding how baseball is your only way off of the DR island. And it's through a lot of shady business practices involving, fake agents and stuff of that caliber, though. But even then, this will be another microcosm story, Nick, for baseball, along with the lockout stuff that we'll have to keep an eye on now.
We might end up doing maybe some video versions of some baseball investigative stuff to fill the podcast, depending if there's no baseball season, which we just saw from the passing report that they're looking at salary caps, so we're in for a long battle.
Yeah. With that, Nick, we got 2 more stories here before we get to press clippings here. Let's start with Laura Rutledge in college football. In a foundational talent shakeup for college broadcasting, veteran ESPN host Laura Rutledge announced she is departing from SEC Nation after a highly successful 10-year run. Laura is reallocating her efforts to anchor ESPN's historic coverage of their first ever Super Bowl ever in network history, with Matt Berry now being named the new host as of today. Laura has been an absolute pillar of college football Saturdays in the South for a decade, making her exit a massive changing of the guard, and also signaling that ESPN's internal priority is shifting elite talent to secure the massive multi-billion-dollar NFL broadcasting package for the Super Bowl. So, Nick, while scaling up the coverage for the first ever Super Bowl in network history makes sense, how severely, though, does losing a massive, deeply trusted brand anchor like Laura Rutledge, though, impact the long-term identity and viewer loyalty for SEC Nation? Matt Berry's a hell of a host. I think he's gonna do great on that show.
Yeah, he was the fill-in anyway when Laura was running around like a lunatic between being on the field. Woo! And we all saw that video of her running from doing the interview at midfield to having to get back to the desk. Like, she shouldn't have to do that. Like, no. And now with all the stuff, she is now part of, I think, the Monday Night Football. She's one of the 2 that does the sideline stuff.
Yeah.
She also does, I think Zan reminded me also that she does the Saturday primetime college football. She's one of the 2 sideline. The amount of travel. Woo. And she has to do NFL Live. There's no way. And with all the Super Bowl coverage that's coming down the pike, and by the way, you might get sick at the amount of promotion and stuff they do. And it's going to start as soon as the season starts. So just be prepared.
I mean, didn't that clock already start, though, when the Super Bowl ended last year for ESPN?
You mean when they did the handoff from the LA studios
to Disneyland?
But I get it. They're going to want her fully focused on the NFL.
Which is rightfully so, that your focus should be right there and nowhere else.
She's still going to do the Saturday primetime games. You might see her show up on SEC Nation, just not as a host.
Yeah, not the lead host, though, yeah.
But Matt Berry's an incredible guy. He's been around for a long time. Sports Center anchor for a long time. Now a lot of the SEC stuff. This makes total sense because I think she was just getting bogged down, all the traveling. I mean, heck, I have my TV on right now. She's on TV right now hosting NFL Live.
Yes. Yes.
So, like, she never stops working. She's like one of the hardest working people. I don't know if we talked about this when she went through a situation where she was pregnant. She was afraid she was going to lose her job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the amount of pressure you have in this business, working in this industry. I mean, look, she's earned her right now to do what she wants at this point in time. So give Matt Berry now he's on during the college football season anyway
Right.
when they're doing the college football live scoreboard on
Yes.
ESPN. So during the week he'll just slide over and host SEC Nation. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, ESPN, and I would not be, and Nick, it doesn't surprise me that ESPN is going, balls to the wall or all out, because who would have thought that, Nick, it would have taken until 2026 for ESPN, the long time called the worldwide leader in sports, to finally land the Super Bowl after all these years.
Because they really were not set up for it. Now, could they have put it on ABC all these years? Yeah, they could have. I think the problem was ESPN and the NFL had a fallout for a period of time. And then now all of a sudden, like the Super Bowl they're in the rotation, I think, for the next 3 rotations, if I'm not
I believe
mistaken.
so, starting this year.
And so they're going to be on ABC, and I'm sure ESPN's going to do a simulcast.
Disney Plus.
So I think this is a good move for them. And I guess we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, we will. We'll see where it goes. With that, Nick, from one thing with football to a surprising note made by SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, who publicly has doubled down on his deep skepticism regarding any future expansion of the CFP. Commissioner Sankey explicitly warned fellow athletic administrators that they want to be careful about how far you go, arguing that while moving from 4 to 12 teams was a monumental and justifiable leap, expanding any further risks severely watering down college football. Commissioner Sankey further emphasizes that the absolute magic of college football hinges on the unmatched high-stakes value of its regular season games, with pundits pointing out that keeping the field tight preserves the massive qualifying leverage that power conferences like the SEC currently do hold. So, Nick, is Greg Sankey legitimately protecting the historical high-stakes integrity of the regular season, or mainly strategically drawing a line in the sand to stop smaller conferences from chipping away at the SEC's postseason revenue domination?
Wait a minute. Watering down the sport?
What?
Never thought I'd hear that.
Especially from the damn SEC, for God's sakes. Holy cow.
First of all, this has nothing to do with drawing the line in the sand to stop smaller conferences from chipping away. This has to do with that stop being money-grubbing whores for money and just let the tournament be. Let the playoffs be. Why do we need to expand to 12 teams? Why do we have to take March Madness and expand it from 68 to 96? Like
76.
No, but they were talking about 96 at one point. But it's enough. Let the teams, the good teams, battle it out. I don't want to see and no offense to when small market, saying that small market teams, do you really want to see a 3rd level, 4th level school winning the national championship?
I mean, I do. That's just me.
That wouldn't look good for the NCAA. I'm just saying.
Imagine if San Diego State would have won the tournament over UConn in 2023.
It would. I mean, I have no issue with who wins. It's the NCAA clearly would have had a problem if that outcome happened. But I find this shocking because the SEC is the leading conference, in my opinion, when it comes to college football.
1,000%. Absolutely.
And he is right when he says going from 4 to 12 would water down the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because, God forbid, because we have to automatically give Notre Dame a bid because they bitched and moaned because they didn't get in. And then Notre Dame bitched and didn't play their, what was it? Their, what game was it again?
The bowl game that they were supposed to, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
They, we declined because we were treated unfairly because we didn't get a playoff spot. No, morons, you didn't earn it. If they would just change the freaking system to wins and losses and stop with, this win is better than this win and this loss is better than that loss, you wouldn't have to worry about putting 12 teams in.
So, I mean, just hypothetically, if they were to go to a 24-team tournament, a playoff, your 1 seed, 8 seed, 4 seed, 5 seed, 2 seed, 7 seed, 3 seed, and 6 seeds all get buys.
Why?
Because then you have play-in games for 16, 17, 9, 24, 13, 20, 12, 21, 15, 18, 10, 23, 14, 19, 11, and 22.
This is too complicated. Too complicated. Just if you want to do 12 teams, in theory,
I think 12 is fine. I would have been happy if they wanted. I would have been happy if they would have just gone with the top 8 before they went to 12.
But I'm saying it's an even number, so it works. Just do it NBA style.
Yeah.
1 and 12, 2 and 11, 3 and 10, and make it all the way to the middle. Just make it simple.
How about 16 teams with no buys?
No, I don't want. It's getting watered down. I don't want more teams. Zan, you should know this better than most. That the reason they're adding teams is because they care about what? It's about greed. I don't want any more teams. And also, by adding more teams, you're going to complicate which win counts over a loss.
Well, then, and I also think you kind of enter a bit of a gray area about what bowl games would be played for there to be a playoff game. Because I think what they're doing right now is they have the on-campus games for the play-in round for, the seed, whatever the seeds are that get the home games for the first round. Then after that, you're utilizing the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, Fiesta, the Orange Bowl for the de facto quarters and semis and the actual national title game. So I don't know.
What is he saying? What about a 10-game conference season with 2 marquee non-conference games during the regular season?
Oh, which is actually, though, a good point because I believe, Zan, that the SEC is putting a loophole in now. You can no longer play a cupcake pay-for-play game.
Yes, we talked about it.
In the last week of the regular season.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, that basically they want to cut off the ridiculous games. But that goes to my point that I don't want voting on where the rankings are. And Nick D and I have fought about this for over a year.
And you will until the Krusty Krab closes.
Because just do it as wins and losses. Whoever has the best record gets in. And whoever doesn't, if you don't get enough wins, you don't get in. And I'm tired of his explanation to me being that, well, because the SEC is a tougher division, their losses should count more than people's wins. What kind of logic in any other sport do we say losses are better than wins?
Yeah, nowhere else except for college athletics and mainly in football.
It's only college football.
Yeah.
No other sport. You don't see that in college basketball. You don't see that in volleyball, soccer. You don't see that. In what fucked up reality? When you say to an athlete, when they play in college football, oh, well, I make sure you count your losses because they might matter more than wins.
Yeah, because you have a bunch of dumb fucks in the committee who are out there voting on who gets in.
The only reason that everyone cares about this so much is because Notre Dame bitched and said, we should have been in the tournament. And look what they did.
Well, I mean, you could even go back further to when Florida State was a bunch of sore losers when they lost their 2 starting quarterbacks and still won the ACC title and didn't get into the playoff field.
I still think that's wrong, by the way. That they were, what were they, undefeated?
Well, I mean, that was the case then. As the former athlete of this network, I went further in saying, now you look like a bunch of sore losers because your team wants to sit out the bowl game because you didn't get in, like you're acting like Notre Dame, for example, in a way.
Well, that I agree with. But
yeah,
Florida, what was it, Florida? You said Florida State. Florida State should have been in. I don't care if they got pummeled in the next round. The records, You're telling me that a team that didn't lose a game all year should be eliminated from the playoff? Tell me in what logic that makes sense.
There is no logic for it because it makes no sense.
What was the team that got in front of them?
Miami, Florida.
Did they have any losses?
I think they had one, but they went to the national title game.
But it doesn't matter. One loss. Okay, we're going to do Sesame Street math right now. Is one loss better than no losses?
No. The only reason why Miami got in was because they beat Notre Dame head-to-head week 1 or week 2 of the season.
I wish they would get rid of that head-to-head nonsense. Unless it's a tiebreaker for records, not for strength of loss or win.
Yeah.
It's not fair to some teams that play their heart out, go undefeated. Zan, you have to remind me of the team that I was following last year because
BYU.
BYU did. I don't think BYU made it.
They made it to a bowl game, but they weren't in the playoff.
What was BYU's record last year?
I think they lost one game too, I want to say.
So BYU,
they were what, 12-1, I think, 13-1, and I think they lost in the Big 12 title game, which cost them a spot in the playoff.
Here it is. So they were 12-2.
And I think they got boat raced in the Big 12 title game, I think, by Texas Tech, I think.
But they were 12-2 and 8-1 in their conference. And they didn't make the playoff.
And it boiled down to the conference title game, I think, for that reason too.
This whole thing that the SEC is better than everybody else, fine. I'll give you that. But the way I said this to Nick D, and he didn't understand my logic. How many teams get in? 12? How many conferences are there? 4?
Oh, it's 5? Like Power 4 versus the rest of the field.
But how many conferences are there?
ACC, SEC, Big 10 are the main 4 that I can think of. The Pac-12 will not have a spot in the upcoming thing.
Zan is saying, I would argue that's wrong. I would argue that the Big 10 has slowly overtaken it. Yes, but Zan, from a standpoint of power, the SEC will always be the top conference.
Sadly.
I mean, yes.
In there.
But I would say the SEC, Greg Sankey and the SEC will rule over any powerful decision that comes with college football. But to say like Florida missed for being an undefeated team, you can't say because their 2 quarterbacks are injured that they didn't deserve to be in.
And that was literally the excuse they gave, is that, well, your 13 quarterback won't sell on television in a roundabout way. That's what they said. Yeah, that was their logic.
Oh, he was saying that the Big 12 was the one we left out. He wasn't saying.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. So.
Yeah, that makes sense, though. So SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, Big 12, those are the main 4.
But I think, and then you have the AAC, the American Conference. So I think there's 5.
They're still kind of on the fringe, I think.
But there's 5 technical conferences.
Yeah.
So what I had said, take 2 from the 5 conferences, that's 10, and then take 2 other teams that qualify with the best records.
Like maybe a Pac-12 school or new Pac-12 school because of them finally getting back up to snuff.
But it's records.
Yeah.
And of course, Nick D said I was delusional.
They should, those 2 spots should be like a wild card in baseball or hockey, depending on records for those last 2 spots.
The other thing I proposed too is that it should be conference the entire season.
I think we're slowly getting there now with how the SEC made that rule change within the last day or 2, that now you can't play like a non-conference game before the final week of the regular season.
But think about that. If conference played conference, all the teams played conference.
I agree. If you go 10-2, you should be guaranteed to get in.
Right. So, because what was the rule of thumb? 3 losses or more, you were out. That was pretty much.
And all you have to do is win 6 to make a bowl game of some type.
Okay, but bowl games are
of some type,
but they're lackluster compared to being in the actual playoff. But
no, I wouldn't really say that because they're bringing another bowl game back to San Diego for the Pac-12 to get a spot somewhere.
But I'm saying we're not treating a bowl game like the playoff is what I mean.
I mean, I do, but that's just me. So,
but if you played conference, Will Scott screw with you. Last thing I'll say is if you played conference all year, then you could play by record because the strength of schedule would be the same for playing within your conference.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no strength of schedule. There would be no saying the SEC is better than this or that or the other. Once you get into the playoff, right, and Zan just said it, and everyone plays everyone.
Yeah.
That's the point. If you play in conference, you can't say, well, an SEC school played a shit school, so that loss shouldn't count. Even though I think that's ridiculous. Or that win shouldn't count. That's ridiculous, by the way. But
especially when you have conferences as big as they are now, like the Big Ten, the ACC, what have you.
It's like one giant pileup inside a ring. Okay? It's one of those things that make you say, it's like scripted WWE theater. What's going on?
By the way, real quick, I don't mean to interject, but I'm going to go take a look at USC's football schedule for them being in the Big Ten this year to kind of see where they're at. So they have 3 non-conference games to start the new season for football.
Non-conference?
3 non-conference games to start the season, and all 3 are at the LA Coliseum before they jump into Big Ten play week 4.
Remove the games.
So they got San Jose State from the Mountain West, Fresno State from the newly built Pac-12, and then they got the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana coming into town.
This is literally scripted theater. That's literally what this is.
Then for Big Ten play at Rutgers, Oregon, Washington, at Penn State, at Wisconsin, at home with the Ohio State, at Indiana, Maryland, at UCLA to end the year like they always do.
Remove the garbage games. I don't want to see any cupcake games. And also the games that you pay for, I want those all gone. I don't want to see them anymore.
I mean, I think the only places it should be allowed, though, is for a mid-major conference like the Big Ten, like the Pac-12 is now, honestly.
I don't think it should be allowed at all because there's an incentive.
Portland State at UCLA, JMU at Toledo, then they open up Pac-12 play against Texas State University October 3rd.
Why not just open up the play for the whole season?
Could be a 10-win team, but who knows?
Just play conference all year. Then I don't have to hear people like Nick D say that, oh, well, the SEC is a tougher conference, so their games are more challenging than the Pac-12 or...
Well, I mean, the Pac-12 is a shell of itself, and they have 4 non-conference games to start the season, not 3. They have 4 this year.
But I'm saying then you can't say the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the AAC. Like, if everyone played within their conference, then it's all even.
Which, by the way, which is also a bit driving me nuts, though, for the Pac-12. San Diego State has an open week, the final week of the regular season, for a game at an unknown opponent still.
How can that be?
That has not been announced.
That doesn't make any sense.
There was some loophole that the Pac-12 put out when it came to the final week of the year, which makes no sense. You know, and again, they're playing, and I'm just saying this because I don't work at SDSU, but I looked up their schedule. They have 4 non-conference games on the schedule, not 3. They have 4 this season.
Oh, enough with these non-conference games.
So they have a 1AA program at UCLA. They host JMU, who's been really good the last couple years. Then they're out to Toledo where they open up Pac-12 play. With that very weird final game of the season, the couple days after Thanksgiving Day, TBA, and it's a road game somewhere.
I don't know, man. I just make it all conference. That way, I don't have to hear, well, these opponents were tougher, so they deserve to have their losses matter more than lower schools with their wins. I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah, let me go check one more. Let me go check the Cal Golden Bears real quick before we move on here and get ready to call it a day here real quick to see their schedule.
While you're doing that, the world of professional wrestling and combat sport moves by the hour, but Christy Wilson keeps you right between the ropes. Join us every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for an inside look at the squared circle. From executive extensions and streaming shakeups to the forbidden door drama across major promotions, we break down the title shifts, contract news, and the fallout of every major betrayal. Whether it's the road to WrestleMania or the latest industry shaking pay-per-view, Christie has the pulse of the industry. Only on the Empty the Bench Network. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, and check out Between the Ropes every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific.
So real quick, Nick, the Cal Golden Bears, they have 3 non-conference games, and they're alternating every week to start the season. So they're going to host UCLA, go to Syracuse for their first ACC game of the year, come back home to play Wagner. Then they're going to play Clemson at home, then travel out to UNLV before they continue on ACC play with Vautech, Wake Forest at SMU, at NC State, I should say, at UVA, Stanford for the big game, and then they host Pitt.
Really?
So weird that you would go non-conference, conference, non-conference, conference, non-conference, and then conference all the way through. It's weird.
Wait. Hold on. We have an MLB response already.
Whoa.
Now, hold your breath because it comes from a certain guy from USA Today.
No, that guy can go jump off a cliff.
So this is MLB's response. It's a direct quote, so I'm assuming it's direct quote. We appreciate the union making a set of proposals, and we look forward to continuing the bargaining process and working towards solving the competitive balance problem our fans are telling us needs to be addressed. We understand their proposals are designed to benefit players. Unfortunately, they do not address and, in fact, exacerbate the competitive balance problem our fans are telling us we must address. The MLBPA's proposal would reduce the amount transferred to lower revenue clubs, weaken the competitive balance tax, and lead to even more payroll disparity than exists today. For example, under the union's proposal, the Dodgers would pay less in luxury tax payments, giving them an additional $70 million to spend on payroll.
Oh my goodness. Just what we need.
This is not going to end well, right?
Zan further says, seems like that Stanford game for Cal will determine if they go to a bowl game. And now I'm off the soapbox. I love when he says that.
All right. On to press clippings. Let's see how fast we can do these. So the Chicago Bears stadium development, speaking of Zan, the Chicago Bears stadium development plans have taken a massive financial turn, becoming legally tethered to a proposed $1.5 billion property tax cushion, currently being debated by state lawmakers to ensure the commercial viability of their mega project. If state politicians ultimately refuse to hand over a massive $1.5 billion tax break, will the Bears be forced to walk away from their current site?
Between San Diego and Chicago, it always seems like the arena and the stadium products are always tied up in litigation somehow, some way. And Zan agrees, this is becoming a circus in Chicago. People hate all the stakeholders here when it comes to the Bears.
This is not going to end well. And something tells me that they're going to end up in Indiana, which is where I will tell you right now, Zan and Grant and Michael.
The Chicago Bears of Indiana, or the Indiana Bears of Chicago?
I don't think they would. No, they're not going to change their name like the New York Jets are not the New Jersey Jets, but or the Giants are not the New Jersey
I was going to say,
Giants.
or they could go back to the old days of MLS and be called the New York, New Jersey Giants or Jets.
Oh, God, no. But you know what? This is all geopolitical, where if they have $1.5 billion in property tax cushion, then they'll stay in Chicago.
Yeah.
But something tells me between Governor Pritzker and everything, and the mayor, I forgot her name, but this is all political. It all comes down to, can they get the money for the stadium, or are they going to end up in Indiana? And I'm going to tell you right now.
It's hysterical that the Chicago Fire of MLS, who've been irrelevant since they won MLS Cup in '98, got a stadium deal done before the Bears did.
Well, this has been a battle with the Bears for years. They just can't figure it out.
Nick, we'll move on here back to the World Cup. Fox Sports' heavily promoted live TV special for the U.S. men's national team World Cup roster reveal was severely undercut after the entire roster got leaked out on social media hours earlier. While more damaging, players who were left off the roster, like Real Salt Lake star Diego Luna, found out they did not make the cut via an automated email from U.S. Soccer. Between the massive leaks killing a premier TV broadcast and Cup players finding out via an email that they did not make the roster, how badly did U.S. Soccer mismanage its media relationships and player trust over the course of the last couple days?
First of all, what? Finding out via an automated email? You didn't have the balls to say it to their face?
Now, in not defense, though, but what Mauricio Pochettino, the head coach, said, when he found out when he was not going to make a roster, he didn't want to be like given a phone call or whatever. So this is how they did it, though, which I still think is classless. That these guys play these, that they play and train together and they play these games around the country to get ready for the World Cup, though, and they find out via a damn corporate email that they didn't make the roster.
Well, first of all, they had that Fox special, right? Television.
That is low. I think it's classless, if you ask me.
You tell me you didn't have a phone number, like you couldn't call them, like seems a little odd, right?
Yeah, I think it's stupid.
Speaking of odd and ridiculous, Knicks fans push NBA Finals ticket prices to a historic $3,700.
What?
Decades of severe playoff hunger have completely broken the secondary ticketing market, driving the average get-in ticket price for an NBA Finals game. So we're talking about games 3 and 4.
3, 4, and 6.
Well, the ones I saw for the time being were 3 and 4 at Madison Square Garden to an astonishing $3,700. And if you're wondering who that ticketing site was, I think it was TickPick was the one that put that up.
They don't charge you fees on there too, believe it or not.
$3,700, you better not. Does a jaw-dropping $3,700 baseline entry price strip away the Knicks' legendary gritty home court advantage by pricing out the loudest local fans in favor of corporate high rollers? No. It's all supply and demand, unfortunately. Now, I said this to you the other night that the NBA needs to step in and make the stop because they're not charging $3,700.
Yeah, I mean, come on, and there's Knick fans, I'm sure, like D-Mart and Liam, who would, if they could, they would drop that money to go there to an NBA Finals game for the first time in 27 years.
I mean, I read online like courtside seats. They were talking about like $150,000, $200,000. $200,000? I could buy a house for $200,000.
Nah, not where I live, you can't, sir. Maybe $200 million, maybe, but not $200,000.
Or you could put a down payment on a house, for all I know,
or even on a new car.
Well, more 5 cars for $200,000. Like, it's ridiculous. The NBA is doing a terrible job. They only care about ratings and the bottom line. Go figure. But houses are getting a little pricey here in Montana too. But it's ridiculous. And by the way, I'll sit on my couch on my big screen. I have a bathroom right by. I have all the food I want. I'm not spending, unless you're letting me be a VIP and meet every player on the freaking team, I'm not spending $3,700.
I mean, right now for the World Cup debut of Team USA for the tournament, it's over $1,100 for the upper level at SoFi Stadium.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like in every way, shape, or form. That's ridiculous. All right, moving on. Speaking of soccer, the BBC has confirmed it will completely skip broadcasting the first ever World Cup final halftime show. I don't know what you really consider a halftime show because it's not one event, but featuring global pop icons Shakira, Madonna, and BTS, choosing instead to return directly to its studio pundits for traditional match analysis. Is the BBC making a noble stance to protect the pure sports first tradition of football broadcasting, or are they alienating millions of casual entertainment fans?
I mean, I'll probably vouch for my English ancestors that they won't give a crap about American culture at the biggest sporting event of the year for halftime. They'd rather hear analysis or their own their own batch of halftime entertainment.
But who cares? It's not one game. So are they just letting one game be more special than the other?
Well, that halftime is at the World Cup final.
Oh, is that what they're talking about? I didn't know what they were
Yeah.
talking about.
The World Cup final.
I mean, it makes sense because Shakira put out a new World Cup anthem, which, by the way, already took off and became insanely popular.
Yep.
It's probably those taxes she had to pay. Oops, sorry. No, that's a joke. But
Hips don't lie still.
she is still one of the best to ever do it. It's not a question.
Madonna.
So is Madonna. I could give two craps about BTS, but that's weird having Madonna and Shakira. If you remember speaking of halftime show, do you remember Shakira and J-Lo led a halftime show together?
That was in what, Houston?
That was the weird one where they kind of looked a little too provocative, the way they were dressed. It seemed like a stripper pole and all that stuff.
Yeah, but again, it was trying to tie in, as I long will defend, Bad Bunny tying into the Latin American culture with a part of the fan base that the NFL has struggled to maintain for a long time.
But the problem is it became too much about the dancing and not enough about the performance.
Yeah, well,
I felt like, but it was an interesting connection to have the two of them be together.
yeah.
But,
I mean, I thought it was amazing. I thought they were great.
But is that it? Is there any other things we
No,
missed?
that's it. I have a hard out because I got to get ready to go to work.
All right. Well, next show, June 3rd, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. I don't know. What sporting stuff are we going to have by the time we come back? Oh, we're on the first day of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, NBA Finals will
and the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, Stanley Cup Finals. Hopefully, we'll get a resolution for the Canes and the Canadiens eventually. I think the Canes and the Canadiens will play tonight for Game 4 from Lebel Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada this evening.
The one thing I will say is the schedulers F that one up big time. They're all playing on the same days.
Yeah, that's not good.
And did you see if the NBA Finals makes it to Game 6? I think it's on the White House card day.
Oh, boy.
So who the hell did all the scheduling for this?
Womp, womp, womp.
I mean, that's kind of crazy, but make sure you follow us on social media at Press Row, ETB, across all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, maybe before we die, TikTok.
One eternity later.
Seriously. Make sure you follow us across the network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. We are over 1,100 subscribers and growing. We need help hitting that watch hour goal for 4,000 watch hours. So please, if you didn't get to catch the whole show, go back, watch it. It's automatically available right after the show ends. It is right up there for a replay, all 3 hours in its full entirety. So go check it out. But make sure you check out all the rest of the shows we have coming up tomorrow. Moving the Goalposts with Nick DiMartino and Johnny Montalbano, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Check that out. Heading for the cycle, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. Oh, no. What?
Some late breaking news, Nick, regarding the Protect College Sports Act of 2026 that I believe has now made its way through DC. We now have a statement from West Coast Conference Commissioner Stu Jackson about the Protect College Sports Act that reads in part, student athletes deserve a system that protects opportunities, promotes fairness, and preserves the values that make college athletics a meaningful experience for all. We support efforts that protect the well-being of student athletes, establish consistent and enforceable standards, and ensure that institutions can continue to provide competitive experiences, educational pathways, and sustainable opportunities for all sports, mainly those of Olympic sports. We look forward to being part of a solution, open and close quote, where I believe, Nick, in wake of what we have seen, though, we've talked about this so many times, though, about how a lot of the non-revenue sports have been cut by schools, though, because of the ongoing issues, though, with football and basketball, that now it appears finally that we may have some traction here with keeping these programs alive and not killing them off.
Yeah. Wow. That's all I got.
We'll have an update about that next week, folks. I gotta get moving here.
One last thing I'll say. With no NBA playoff games, because we're a slow day, apparently Pat McAfee, you might want to check this out. There's a bonus Pat McAfee show on ESPN tonight from 7 to 9
Ooh.
Eastern, and it's all the commissioners.
Oh. Well,
So-
we may have to talk about that too next week.
So it's Adam Silver, Rob Manfred, Gary Bettman, Don Garber, who's getting ready to retire, right?
From what we've heard, but apparently FOS is reporting that they might be changing their strategy when it comes to his retirement. Again.
Dana White, unfortunately, Kathy Engelbert, and some surprise guests. So all the commissioners are going to show up tonight.
Interesting.
And they're calling it the Pat McAfee Show Primetime State of Sports.
I dig it. So we will have to report on what we conjure up from that day.
Yeah, so that'll do it for the show. We'll be back next week. What was the last I was going to say? Like I said, Thursday, you have MTGP hitting for the cycle. Friday, you have Bando's Breakdowns. You have Unnecessary Wagers. You have Gridiron Gurus. And then Saturday, plenty of shows as well. Right, Between the Ropes, 2 pay-per-views coming up. So catch that Saturday. Fight IQ, Puncher's Chance. There's a lot of stuff. So you have
no excuses.
No excuses. You have to watch every minute of every program, or I'm coming to your house and I'm knocking the door down. What? What?
There is now talk, Nick, that NASCAR is facing calls now to waive the eligibility rules to induct Kyle Busch into the Hall of Fame promptly and not wait X amount of years to do so.
Do we know what the eligibility rule is?
I would think it'd be 5 years post-retirement, I'd say, much like every other sport out there.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to look that up.
1.
Yeah.
2.
To be eligible, drivers must have competed. Oh, so it says drivers must have competed for at least 10 years.
Oh, he's got it.
So then why is there a wait? Oh, do you have to wait a certain period of time?
I'm guessing that would be it, yeah.
It says you have to have been retired for at least 2 years.
They should waive it.
They probably should waive it. I mean, he's one of the all-timers, right?
Yeah.
But, okay, that'll do it for the show. We will be back.
More breaking news. We're done. We're going.
Yeah,
I got to get moving.
June 3rd, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup, big day for business, sports business, and media. So we'll break it all down. We'll be closer to the UFC stuff for the White House card, and Conor McGregor. We'll probably get into the business side of the McGregor fight. What? So we'll get into all that. Thank you to the almost 200 people that tuned in live to watch today. It's gladly appreciated. Like and subscribe. Like I said, youtube.com/GTV Network. And I guess we'll see you next time. Until then, have a good day. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you next time.